teeth, shifting uncomfortably as my tremors intensified. If I ever got out of this hell, this man would haunt my nightmares. I knew it as well as I knew my own name. He'd left an ugly mark on my soul, and no amount of bleach or holy water would ever erase it. He took another step, and I leaned back, desperate for as much space between us as I could manage.
You killed my doctor,
he purred, and my eyes found the body sprawled in the corner just as his last breath left him. He deserved it. My voice shook as violently as my body. And if you get close to me, I'll kill you too. Fuck, he liked challenges. By now, I should know better than to engage with him. I bit my lip, my eyes dropping along with my heart. Why didn't I just ignore him? Then he'd be gone already.
You're just like your father.
He watched me with such a disgusting thrill in his eyes, sending all kinds of images into my mind of the ways he could defile me.
He should have stuck with me. But no matter, his betrayal will be yours to repay.
I had no fucking idea what he was saying, but that wasn't much of a surprise. Nothing made sense anymore. You'll die just like him. I hadn't taken pleasure in killing Angelo Leone, but I suspected I'd enjoy it tremendously with this man. His screams would make the most satisfying sounds that not even Phoenix's gentle fingers playing Beethoven could match.
Oh, Princesa, we both know I won't. It'll be you and me until
I was dead. Thousands of scenarios raced through my mind, but one screamed the loudest. Death. For reasons unknown, it refused to claim me. Blood stained my hands, my clothes, and my hair. Yet death was too good for me. Fuck you.
What did you say?
Perez drawled, his voice dripping with venom. My mouth filled with sand while nausea tilted my stomach. My skin itched so fucking bad it felt like I was being overrun by insects, their little legs scurrying across my limbs. Fuck you, I repeated, trying to sound brave, but my voice was too small. This attitude would undoubtedly result in my death. With that in mind, I added, "Get close to me again and I'll end your miserable life."
End my life, and you'll be at my men's mercy.
Out of nowhere, he produced a switchblade and closed the distance between us. His cologne assaulted my nostrils and my empty stomach, making my nausea unbearable. He opened and closed the switchblade before he pressed the sharp tip of it to my neck. "I'll kill them too," I said, reckless now. To my surprise, he laughed.
A killer like your father, it would seem.
The tip of his blade pressed deeper until I felt hot liquid trickle down my neck. The malicious gleam in his cold eyes almost lit up the basement cell, or maybe it was another hallucination.
You think anyone will want you?
He kept his voice low, but he watched me carefully.
After me, there's nobody for you. Not ever again. It's only a matter of time before I have your body and soul.
Never! I screamed. He caught my wrist and bent it until a yelp tore from my mouth. He snickered.
Like father, like daughter. He was a stubborn motherfucker, too.
I was nothing like Angelo Leone. Nothing. Yanking my wrist out of his grip, I cradled it against my chest, then pressed myself flat against the stone wall, watching and waiting until I could strike him with a deadly blow. Hate swirled within me, so powerful I thought it had eaten me alive. It killed the cinnamon girl. It killed the sunshine inside me, leaving me with only hunger for my next kill. Perez Cortez's body strung up in the air, screeching like the pig that he was. I shook my head. No, not like a pig, like a snake. I didn't care if I died. One way or another, I'd make him pay.
I offered for your husband to buy you back from me, but he didn't agree on the price.
Lies, lies, lies. A thought nudged at my mind, but I was too distracted with the throbbing ache in my chest. It felt like a gaping and raw wound, strangling me. I reached for my necklace once again, but of course it wasn't there. So I focused my gaze on the ring on my finger. It wasn't shiny anymore. The diamonds were stained crimson and filth clung to the metal. I often wondered why he hadn't taken it from me. They took everything else. My clothes, my dignity, fucking everything. Yet they left my wedding ring.
He'll take it off one day.
I raised my head and found his gaze locked on my finger.
Very soon.
In your dreams, I muttered under my breath, earning me a slap across the cheek. My ears rang, but I refused to show weakness.
If it were me, I'd give up all my wealth.
I snorted, imagining that scenario.
He said you're not worth it, now that you're used merchandise. He doesn't want anything this filthy.
He chuckled, looking me up and down, another twist of my ring. Wait, what he'd said before, about offering Eamon a price to buy me back. He's alive? I choked out, meeting his dead stare.
He just needed one more bullet.
He gritted. The ringing in my ears turned high-pitched. Kill, kill, kill! My hatred for this man ran almost as deep as my love for my husband. My fingers itched to feel that cold metal in my palm so I could fill this fucker with bullets. I was so lost in the fantasy of killing Perez that I missed his next move. His big palm clutched me by my throat and lifted me in the air. I choked and clawed, kicked at his shins, but I couldn't fight him off. I was too weak, too small. I was pathetic.
Don't you worry, baby girl.
I fucking hated his voice.
I'll finish him off.
Eamon's body, sprawled on the crimson-stained gravel, danced behind my eyelids.
Make him regret ever having you.
The only thing I regret is you touching me, I croaked, each syllable hurting my throat. Survival instincts kicked in, my body fighting to live despite my wish for death. I'm going to kill you for taking him from me. My throat burned as I attempted to break free of his hold. I was a rabid dog, hissing and biting. My strength was waning. The heroin was working too well, sending me into that mental space where nothing mattered. Perez dragged his blade down my collarbone, over the side of my left breast, and across my torso, before he paused.
This can be quick and painless, princesa. Just relax.
Fuck that. Those words had me fighting harder. I swung my knee, hitting his groin. A guttural howl escaped him. In the next second, he dropped his hold from my neck and ground my face into the stone floor. He ripped my filthy dress and I screamed until my throat turned raw and I tasted copper. He punched the back of my head, making my world explode. Ignoring the pain, I twisted just in time to see him unfasten his jeans and tug them down. Sheer panic consumed my mind. Tears streamed down my cheeks. Then I headbutted him in the groin, his dick hitting my cheek. I tried to crawl away from him, but he dragged me back. The stone tore at my flesh.
I'm sick of your fire,
he growled, his palm crashing into the side of my face. He fisted my hair, then pulled my head and slammed it back onto the ground. A soft whisper reminded me of what the doctor said. He doesn't want to fuck a limp corpse. I made my body go slack, closed my eyes, and waited. 1 breath. 2 breaths. My heart pounded, not liking how vulnerable I was. My palms burned and a wave of goosebumps spread across my body as I silently begged for this to work. He shook me like a rag doll. I let my head hit the stone, feigning unconsciousness. It wasn't too hard with the drugs in my system. Another shake. Don't open your eyes. He kicked me one more time. I bit the inside of my cheek, determined not to let out a sound. Perez let out a frustrated breath, then stomped away. The door shut with a loud metal clang. I didn't move, listening to his footsteps fading with each second until I could no longer hear anything. Deep breaths, Raina. Hold on. Eamon's voice. Just breathe. Shut the fuck up, I whispered to the ghost as images flashed through my mind. Our wedding, the gondola ride, the fireworks for our new beginning, only to get a bitter end. He no longer wants you, my mind whispered. You're ugly, you're scarred, you're filthy. Shut the fuck up, I repeated. My heart had broken. It was shattering with each breath. And that little organ would never be the same. I would never be the same. That's why he refused to pay the ransom. The thought released fresh pain, and still, even knowing this, I was happy he was alive. Even though I'd never see him again, never feel his warm body, never breathe in his lemon and green apple scent. I rolled over, pawing my chest. I curled into a ball, forcing the tears back, surprised to find there were still some left. I drifted, riding the thin line of sanity. The ground shook beneath me, or maybe it was my imagination playing tricks again. A voice followed. No, not just one. Many voices. Guns. The sounds of bullets reverberated through me. My eyes snapped open in anticipation only to find an empty room. Blood, bodies lying dead in the corner. But no Perez. The stench of death circulated in the cell. Soon it would take me, too. Then I'd be free. Maybe I'd choose a happy memory and stay in it forever, swimming with Eamon in the sea. No, the lanterns. That had been the most perfect night, just the two of us. A noise slipped free from my throat, something between a cry and a laugh. I was trapped in hell and dreaming of heaven. I was losing my mind. Or maybe it was already gone.
13. Eamon. Rage, hope, despair. Those were the three emotions circling through my body. It was hope that kept pushing me forward, while the urge to burn the world, reduce it to ashes, consumed me. The constant hum of the airplane's engine somewhere over the Pacific as we made our way to Brazil should have calmed me. It didn't. Instead, my reflection stared back at me, washed in violence and seething with self-loathing. My fucking fault. I failed her. I should have protected her. It was my fault. My fist flew into the mirror, shattering it completely. Tiny, broken reflections stared back at me, giving me a preview of what was to become of me. She'd been gone for a whole fucking month, and I'd felt every second of it. Everyone was getting some shut-eye as Elias's fleet of private jets brought us closer to our destination. Not me. Every time I closed my eyes, images of my wife fighting for her life threatened to put a match to my anger. My hand flew into the wall, bending the titanium aluminum. Someone tapped on the bathroom door, but I was too far gone to react. Eamon, it's me. Open up. Like a drone, I drove through it a second time, and a third, a fourth, a fifth, before Dante's hands came around my arm, yanking me backward. I stumbled, and we almost fell from the force of it, but my brother's back hit the wall. Snap out of it, Eamon, he barked. I shook my head, eyes wild. My knuckles were split, droplets of blood falling on the floor. Are you trying to put a hole through this plane and kill us? I deserve it, I clipped. Let's save her first, and then you can decide if you want to jump out of a plane. Come on, let's go sit down, he muttered. My body was brimming with tension, but I relented. His hand patted my back. We're going to find her. I offered only a terse nod, then turned to wash the blood off my hands and knuckles. My reflection in what was left of the shattered mirror promised an equally broken future if I didn't find her. Dante's gaze met mine in the reflection. Hungry? No. He turned to leave, then paused in the doorway. Don't break any more mirrors. That's 7 years of bad luck, he drawled, flashing me a quick grin. Except the shadows lingering in his expression told me the truth. He was putting on a brave face for me, but he was worried about Phoenix. It was as if she'd disappeared into thin air. Shaking my head, I finished washing my hands, then made my way out of the bathroom to join Dante on the couch. He slid a cigarette out of the pack and popped it into his mouth. You should really stop smoking, I remarked tightly. It's not good for your lungs. It could kill you. He ignored me as he lit the cigarette up, folding his ankle over his knee. Not before this stress does. Anything on Phoenix? His gaze flickered to me. I'm starting to think she's in hiding. My brows shot up. Why do you say that? I hacked into her bank account. He paused to look at me. A dry look hit my face. She withdrew $2 million. Cash? He nodded. Sounds like she might be on to your plan. I decided to take matters into her own hands. Well, she doesn't know my determination, he muttered, his cigarette flopping up and down. No, she doesn't. And God help them both. You think it was wise leaving Romero at your place? A crease formed between my brows. What can he possibly do? Take my shit? The man's days are numbered as it is. He rolled his eyes. No, but he could insist on taking Raina home when we get her back. My fists clenched. Dante's eyes lowered, noting the tension in my hands. He won't, he added quickly. He seems accepting of you as a son. Plus, through you, Raina remains his daughter. Then everyone is happy, I deadpanned. Or he could be playing along just to appease us, he cut in wryly. Was this a fucking game of yo-yo? I was 2 seconds away from losing my shit, and Dante's pep talk wasn't helping. I cracked my neck. Keep it fucking together. For her. Warfare raged in my head. Setting my jaw, I stared out the plane window, seeing nothing but darkness, one that matched my soul. Unleashing it meant tearing into anyone around me, including Dante, if he didn't stop talking stupid. I inhaled a deep breath when Kyan's voice cut through my thoughts. Eamon, you need to see this. It's not pretty, but you have to. My stomach twisted. Is it Raina? Kyan nodded. Was I strong enough to see it? I didn't know, but I couldn't look away. Not when my wife was living through who knew what type of hell. Eamon? Dante pressed. I reached for his pack of cigarettes, snatched one out of the packet, and lit up. So much for preaching to my brother. He opened his mouth to speak. Don't, I warned, my voice hoarse. His mouth snapped shut, and he nodded, looking back at Kyan, who clicked a button and turned the laptop our way. The video was time-stamped over 3 weeks ago. Fucking 3 weeks. It didn't have any audio, but it didn't change the fact that 2 men were attacking her. My hands balled into fists. as I watched Perez drug her, feeling helpless as fuck. "Is that—" Dante started, but then stopped. "Perez Cortez," I gritted. "I thought the fucker didn't leave Brazil." "He left for her," Kyan muttered. Then I watched them shove her into a cage and tie her up like a goddamn animal. Bile swirled in my stomach, alongside a whirlpool of anger, as I waited for him to assault her. I forced myself to watch, my teeth clenching harder and harder until every bone in my jaw threatened to break. "He won't rape her," Kyan cut in, flicking me a worried glance. "Not while unconscious." That didn't make me feel any better. 14. Amen. We reached the outskirts of Manaus right before nightfall. We all changed into clothing appropriate for jungle and battle. Kyan had contacts among local authorities and at the airport that would keep our entrance into the country quiet. It was thanks to him that everything was coordinated efficiently. 8 jeeps waited for us as we disembarked the plane. Once outside, Kyan gave a silent nod to our dress code: black shirts and cargo pants. "Smart. The jungle gets cold at night." It was Kyan, Darius, Dante, and me, along with 10 of our best men, including the Callahan twins. For some crazy reason, those 2 loved explosives and were in charge of blowing up the place. We all agreed, get in and get out. Romero stayed behind, and so did Elias and Marchetti. We couldn't risk most of the Omerta being wiped out in one go if shit went south. "How far to the target location? How far is she?" I glanced at Darius, who was dressed in military gear. Despite my dislike of him, I had to admit I was glad he was here and on our side. 3 hours. Kyan pulled a map up on his satellite device. "It'll be jungle terrain from here. We'll stop about 5 miles out, then make the rest of the journey on foot." He pointed to the spot on the map. "Once we have her, one of my men will head our way with the vehicles." "What is this? A fucking prison in the middle of the jungle?" Dante's eyes were glued to the screen. "Perez is a paranoid motherfucker, and so was my father. When he selected this spot, he ensured the setup would make it practically impossible to penetrate." "But lucky for us, you know some ways in and out," Darius deadpanned. "I fucking hope." Kyan jerked his head. "I do. Just one." If it meant I had to crawl on my hands and knees, I wasn't leaving this fucking jungle without her. The stars were hidden behind the clouds and trees, making the success of our trek promising. If it stayed like this, it would provide us with a cloak of invisibility. When we got to the marked location, we exited from the jeeps and began on foot. The miles of trees and night creatures were the only landscape for the remainder of the way. "Are we climbing a mountain?" Dante muttered. "Stop being a sissy," Darius mocked. "It's a fucking hill. Barely." For the next 3 miles, the 2 called each other all kinds of creative names, though they managed to keep quiet. God knew how. We all ignored them. It was their way of blowing off steam, and neither knew when to quit. Kyan signaled to turn off our flashlights when we approached a rough path. For the next mile, we traveled in total darkness, using night vision equipment. As if understanding the need for our concealment, the moon hid further behind the clouds and the darkness was almost oppressive. Moving swiftly, we approached the compound with its tall walls and looming pillars. Behind us, our men followed. Nobody spoke a word. "The walls surrounding the perimeter are thick," Kyan explained. "This place is locked down, and there are guards everywhere. Once we're inside, we'll have to leverage the element of surprise." How much space is there between the walls and the house? I asked. 500 feet from every angle, Kyan answered. And according to this map, it's a wide open space, Darius chimed in. We'll have to be fast and efficient. No one gets away. I nodded. The moment we're in, our men need to start eliminating the guards. Tell them to use silencers. Snipers, in position, Kyan ordered. Thank fuck these guards are dressed in white, Dante muttered. Otherwise, not sure how the snipers would tell us apart. Kyan offered him a cold smile. It's not my first rodeo. I have no fucking idea what that means, Dante spat. I'm Italian, not a cowboy. He was agitated, and it had nothing to do with lack of sleep and everything to do with the jungle. My hand landed on my brother's shoulder. You okay? We locked eyes. A bead of sweat rolled down his temple. You're a good shot. Maybe you can pick the guards off one by one from here. He grinned. And let you have all the fun. Fuck no. Let's go. I watched him for another second. Then, with a terse nod, I pulled my gun out of the waistband of my pants, and we made our way toward the fortress, slipping soundlessly through the gap Kyan told us about. By design, nobody spoke a word. Kyan pointed to each location where guards were likely stationed. Immediately, the ones on the towers started falling over like stringless puppets, one by one. We moved with each target, using the opening to get closer to the house. Then, an explosion of gunfire shattered the silence. A spray of bullets followed. Our cover was blown. We started running, using the darkness to shield us from enemy eyes. My finger on the trigger, I took out everyone in my path. The atmosphere thickened with tension and urgency. Soon more guards charged our way. I reloaded my gun, slamming the magazine in place. There was no room for mistakes, only efficiency. Aim, shoot, aim, shoot. The bullets whizzed through the air. At one point, one grazed me, but I didn't slow down to inspect the damage. It would have to wait. Jesus Christ, these guards are multiplying like roaches, Dante breathed, shooting left and right. I wish we had time to cut off their cocks. Better yet, find the women they've been hurting and let them do it. Darius's voice came through the earpiece while grinning savagely, but his smile was wiped the moment an explosion went off, shaking the ground. We found ourselves in front of a plantation home with yet another slew of guards surrounding it. Our snipers took them out easily while we aimed for the ones hiding in the shadows. Kyan stopped to reload. The women are kept in the barracks and the basement, he instructed. We should split up. Dante and I nodded. Darius can go with you, Eamon. My guess is we'll find Reyna in the basement, since she's the prize. Your brother and I will head to the barracks. We're getting all the women out tonight. The four of us reloaded our magazines in silence, then split up. Darius and I entered through the grand entrance. The quiet luxury inside was in stark contrast to the chaos happening outside. Darius tapped me on the shoulder and pointed to the living room. Blood-stained marble. Our feet silent against the hard stone, we moved past it, heading down the long hallway with doors to the left and right. I don't like this, I mouthed, conscious of the fact that we'd yet to confront any guards. Judging by Darius's expression, he didn't like it either. Reaching the opposite end of the house, a long window overlooking a waterfall and acres of jungle came into view. A muscle clenched under my stubbled jaw. This fucking bastard created a paradise for himself that would serve as hell for everyone else. I shifted to the left when a choking sound had me turning my head. Some fucker had an arm wrapped around Darius's neck. You're here for her. I recognized Perez Cortez. The fucker had a fresh gash on his face that looked to be from a fingernail, and his shoulder looked fucked up. "You can't have her. She's mine." Darius saw an opening and took it, flipping him over his shoulder. Perez, the slimy ass, jumped to his feet with surprising agility. He pulled out a knife from the back of his pants, bending his knees into a fighting stance. "Better say your final prayers, boys," Perez spat, a sick gleam in his eyes. Darius and I shared a glance, then wordlessly fell into attack mode. He went left, I went right. We took turns, our strikes measured, but Perez was strong, fighting us off with ease. Adrenaline pumped through my veins, and when his knife sliced my forearm, I barely felt it. Angelo Leone's bastard daughter will scream her prayer when I'm done with her. Fury shot through me, and I raised my gun when Darius's grunt stopped me from pulling the trigger. "You go on, find her. I got this asshole." For a moment, my wish to make this fucker suffer battled with my need to find my wife. "Bind him. We take him alive," I hissed. "Death is too merciful for him." He nodded, and I left the men to battle it out, confident Darius would win. I followed along a stone hallway with more rooms. Opening the first door, my stomach lurched. A dead woman was spread over the bed like a broken doll, her blonde hair matted and dirty. Scenes right out of my worst nightmare waited for me, door after door. Fear gripped my heart, but I pushed on. There was no going back without her. Reaching the end of the hallway, I found a wrought iron staircase that led to the basement. Just as I started my descent into hell, a voice came through my earpiece. "Guyan, I have your brother. What's your position?" It didn't surprise me. Guyan had been nursing a grudge against Perez for longer than I'd even been alive, ever since he'd sold their baby sister to a whorehouse. It was clear by the crazed look in Perez Cortez's eyes that he wasn't all there. "Don't forget who the fucker belongs to," I said, my breaths coming in shallow bursts as I descended into the depths of this hellhole. "Duly noted." "We found some girls in the barracks. They're still alive." Guyan's voice came through. "Not many." My stomach churned. She couldn't be dead. She just fucking couldn't. I paused with my hand on the stone wall, not sure I was ready for any of this. "Did you find her?" "Her. Raina." "No." Silence. "I'm making my way into the basement now." "Our extraction ETA is 10 minutes. "Got it." The scent of death was even stronger down here, I thought, as I descended the rest of the way. The last door along the corridor called out to me. My footsteps heavy, I made my way to it and placed my hand on the latch. For a moment, I stood frozen, terrified of what I might find. My heart cracking my ribs with each beat, I pushed the metal door open and faced my worst nightmare. Raina's blonde curls were stained with blood. Bruises, black, blue, and purple, covered every visible inch of her skin. Her blue sapphires, unseeing, connected with mine. The world came to a stop, and I almost fell to my knees. I'd failed her so fucking bad.
15. Raina. A crack stretched across the center of the ceiling. Some days it looked longer and it took up the entire room. Other days it barely took up a quarter of it. I'd started to associate it with the state of my mind. Some days I was more lucid, hopeful even, and others my body shook from craving that needle and the relief it brought. But above all else, What was rotting me from the inside was not being able to distinguish reality from tricks my head played. The heat in the air had my skin glistening with sweat, yet the last prick of the poison had me shivering from the inside out. A drop of sweat trickled from my brow, and I let it roll down my cheek like it was a tear. It wasn't, though. There were none left. Purple bruises covered the length of my body, the worst being in the crooks of my arms, where my veins had collapsed. I was in hell. But I had never felt safer. That was until the haze cleared, and the need for another hit became an agonizing itch I couldn't scratch. Perez Cortez controlled it all. He could grant me relief, hell, or death. Still, I prayed for the latter. Nobody would be saving me. I started to believe I was beyond salvation. The silence of my prison was interrupted by the sounds of bullets, machine guns, shouts, and explosions. I didn't so much as flinch, certain my mind was taunting me, and anyway, I hoped this place would burst into flames, and I no longer cared if I went up with it. "Pretend you're dead," I whispered to myself, although I couldn't hear my voice over the voices in my head and screams in the air. A door cracked open and a shape appeared, stealing my attention. My fingers reached for it, sweeping my hand through the air, left, then right, unable to touch it. I craved a human touch. I'd never been alone for so long. I missed my sister, my friends, Grandma. I even missed our cramped apartment. No, I couldn't let myself go there. I had to tamp down those memories. They did nothing for me here. Another creak. The faint light poured into my corner of darkness. I drew my eyes open and toward the doorway where a man stood, clad in all black. Slowly, my gaze trailed up the tall frame until I reached his face. Something flickered over his face, nudging at my drug-induced fog, but I couldn't grasp it.
"Raina."
The softness of his voice sent an alert through me. I scooted further into the corner, ready to fight. The man with obsidian eyes pushed the door aside and walked into the small room, past the dirty mattress. "It's a trick. Don't fall for it," I whispered. I watched him approach me and lower to his haunches with an expression that had me wanting to lash out. His hand reached for me, and before he could touch me, I snatched his palm and bit into it savagely. A grunted
"Fuck"
tore from his throat. Panic and the need to fight awoke my senses right alongside a citrusy scent. I ignored it and shoved at the towering figure, but his footing was too stable, his frame too strong.
"Raina, it's me,"
he hissed as I kept clawing at him.
"Eamon."
I let out a raw scream at the cruel trickery. It was Perez's cruelty. I knew it. He'd found a new way to toy with me.
"What's going on? And what the fuck is that smell?"
Another voice filtered from behind him, and I stilled. I blinked my eyes, my tongue sweeping over my dry, cracked lips. A flicker of light hair came behind the dark man, his eyes darting around.
"Jesus fucking Christ."
Every fiber in me froze. I blinked again. They're still here. It took several deep breaths for hope to set in. Panting, I looked down, noting that my hands were covered in blood, as was my filthy nightgown. If I was dreaming, surely I'd pick something better to wear. My skin was irritated, and I could feel it flaking off me. Groggy, freezing, and uncomfortable, I looked around my cell. Filth, blood, dead bodies.
"Cinnamon girl, it's me."
I recognized his voice. It was deep, dark, and deceitful. My throat tightened, and just as I was about to start hyperventilating, a loud boom sounded.
"We have to grab her and go,"
Darius whispered.
"We don't have much time. Perez has been disarmed, but his men don't know that yet."
Perez has been... Did that mean he wouldn't hurt me anymore? Couldn't? I inhaled a sharp breath. I should jump to my feet and run to the men who'd come to save me, yet all I could do was think, with absolute terror, that it was all an illusion, a fever dream, no matter how real they looked and sounded. I'd wake up, and that sinking feeling would crush me again. My tremors were back, and my teeth rattled louder than ever.
"Are her pupils?"
Eamon didn't finish.
"Yes. Look at what they've done to her arms, too."
I pulled my mangled arms behind my back, right hand clasping over my left wrist, and felt my shoulders drop in shame.
Grab her and let's go.
Boots stomped my way on the stone floor, and the crunching of dirt and rubble sent my heart flying into my throat. I shook violently with each approaching step. The roaring of my heartbeat drowned out every other sound, and when another bomb went off, I barely heard it.
Fuck, I think she's scared of me.
His voice, those words reverberated through me, but it was his shattered tone that reflected the pain in my chest. It was enough to finally give me pause. Eyes wide, I stared up at my savior, my husband, and I felt my nerves pinball through my broken body. A sob ratcheted up my throat, muffled by my hand. I was on the verge of fainting, being sick all over my prison floor, when his face came but an inch from mine. It felt like staring up at a night sky full of glittering stars.
I'm taking you home, Cinnamon Girl.
He spoke so softly my heart shuddered with longing.
Do you know who I am?
His eyes were locked on me as if he was convinced I'd vanish into thin air. Amen. Utter relief whooshed from his mouth in a drawn-out sigh, and he fell to his knees in front of me. I swallowed, raw emotions scratching at my throat. I didn't want to feel them. I didn't want to remember him.
Fuck, baby.
His voice was gentle, vulnerable.
I'm so happy I found you.
A whimper burst from me. He stood and lifted me into his arms, holding me so tightly that I could hardly breathe.
Fuck, you're so cold. Your skin feels like ice.
Eamon placed soft kisses all over my cheek, pulling me tight to his chest and rocking me. His hands roamed over my clammy skin in an attempt to warm me up. How could he stand to touch me when I was disgusting, unworthy, ruined?
We need to go, Eamon.
Darius's voice shook slightly, drawing my eyes to him, while my husband shed his jacket and wrapped it around me.
Hold on, Cinnamon Girl.
He stood up, his grip tightening on me. He swallowed over and over again, fighting to keep it together. His dark eyes were flooded with tears, making them shimmer in the dark.
I'm taking you home.
He couldn't know that my demons would follow me anywhere, even home.
16. Eamon. How is she? Dante asked from the passenger seat, concern marring his face. He eyed Reina's unconscious body. Darius was behind the wheel, the jeep rocking uncontrollably as we made our way back through the jungle. Perez was bound with chains in the vehicle ahead of us, his mouth muffled and his eyes blindfolded. And my wife, she was out cold in my arms. When we'd rushed up the stairs and out the front door, Reina had spotted the women, the ones we hadn't been able to save, and lost her shit. She came at us all, biting and scratching, leaving us no choice but to sedate her. My finger hadn't lifted from her pulse once, petrified that destiny would be so cruel and fucked up as to take her away from me just when we finally reunited. She'll be okay, I muttered, more to myself than to my brother. She's strong. Did you get the message to Romero? Dante had been nothing but patient and understanding since he'd laid eyes on her broken, emaciated form in my arms. He'd gone through a similar hell once before, after all. He must be going out of his goddamn mind. Maybe it's good he's her father for all intents and purposes. He's better than our own. Our own. Angelo Leone had been anything but a father. If his conduct when Dante was taken was anything to go by, there was no chance he'd have gone out of his way to save Reina if he were still alive. I did. He's relieved. He wanted to meet us at the port, but I told him to sit tight. The sooner we're out of this country, the better. Does he know she'll need to go to rehab? Darius's lips tightened, and he shook his head. Reina's addiction is the least of our worries. He was right. She was in bad shape. Thankfully, most of the blood staining her skin and her nightgown wasn't hers, but the bruises and scarring definitely were, and they were no small thing. We left the Cortez compound, blown to Kingdom Come, courtesy of the Callahan twins. Kyan pointed out the strategic locations to set up the explosives for maximum impact, and the twins were more than happy to oblige. A few of Cortez's men took off on foot, but Kyan made it his personal mission to track them down. I suspected those men knew all about the brother who'd done the impossible and fled the Cortez cartel. His reputation was godlike among the organizations. So when they'd caught wind of him, they'd hightailed it out of there before they could meet their fate. The worms were slippery, but they wouldn't be able to evade capture for long. Just like my fucking cousin wouldn't be able to run from me when I eventually tracked him down. Darius's eyes flickered to the rearview mirror every so often, checking on my wife. We both knew this would leave scars. I had already started arranging increased security for my compound back in Jolo. Clearly, a month in Perez's captivity, not to mention that crossing by sea, had left my wife feeling more vulnerable than I knew how to deal with on my own. I pressed my forehead to hers, murmuring soft words, hoping they'd reach her somehow. I cursed the evil that had ripped us apart. Perez dimmed her light, but I was determined to bring it back. We'll get through this, Cinnamon Girl. Together. At the sound of my voice, her eyelids fluttered open, but there was no recognition in them. Just hang on. Her eyelashes settled back on her cheeks, almost as if she couldn't stand to look at me, and she didn't open them again for the rest of the bumpy ride. I paced back and forth outside Raina's hospital room, my fingers curled into fists as I waited for the doctor to finish with her. The sight of blood never particularly bothered me, but seeing so much of it on my wife was an experience I'd spend the rest of my days trying to shake from my memory. Twice now I'd almost lost her, and twice now I'd failed her. Never again. Never fucking again. When Raina's condition worsened, and our team of private doctors couldn't manage, we had to take a detour to Colombia. Once there, a private hospital took her and a few of the other rescued women in for emergency procedures. Rafael Santos, the head of the Santos cartel, provided us all with security and a compound to stay in. Thank fuck the Nikolaev family had a good relationship with the Colombians and was able to get through to him in time. The door opened, and I lifted my head, squaring my shoulders as the doctor stepped out. He was older, maybe in his late 50s, with gray hair and dark eyes. How is she, doctor? I rushed to him. We disinfected her wounds and stitched up several deeper ones, he said. She's malnourished, dehydrated, and unfortunately very much under the influence of drugs. He took a deep breath. The next few days will prove difficult. I've inserted an IV which should be receiving fluid through. Thank you. He nodded once. She's in very rough shape, Eamon. Sedation is necessary at this stage, but please remember that it cannot be a lasting treatment. Opioid withdrawal comes with a barrage of symptoms, including anxiety, depression, and, in Raina's case, forms of post-traumatic stress. It will take weeks, if not months, for her to regain some semblance of normalcy. She needs full support and empathy from those around her. I understand, I replied. I'll be back tomorrow to monitor her and administer more medication. Her vitals stats are feeding directly into my phone, but if you need anything urgently, just grab one of the nurses. Will do. Good night, Doc. Good night, sir. He strode away, leaving behind more questions than answers. It was a start, though, and that was what mattered. I leaned against the doorway, watching Raina sleep. Her skin was so pale, so translucent. She must have lost 20 pounds since I last saw her, which felt like years ago. Her golden curls were splayed across the pillow, lacking the liveliness they once held. Even as she slept, the dark circles beneath her eyes and the hollowness of her cheeks taunted me. There was hardly a trace of the little girl I met all those years ago, never mind the young woman from a month ago. My jaw clenched as that little voice in my head told me I caused this. I should have never touched her, tainted her with my darkness, and put her in harm's way. How is she? Raphael's voice came from behind me. Not the best news, but she'll pull through. The doctor took me through the next steps and what to expect. He nodded his understanding. No matter what I say, it won't make you feel better. It sounded like he was speaking from experience. The best advice I can offer is to give her time and space, whatever she needs to heal. It wasn't the worst advice, except I couldn't breathe without her. I'd give her time, but I couldn't give her too much space. The only way I'd keep my own sanity and be able to support her through this was with her back in my home, under my care. Everything I'd done from the moment I took my first breath had led to her. I wasn't the perfect man she deserved, but I was hers. Always had been, always would be. Thank you for letting us use your facilities, I said, choosing not to comment. I'll shoulder all the costs. Don't worry about that. We're glad Perez is gone, and that you saved those women. I shot him a look. Not a fan of Cortez? His reputation and penchant for cruelty knows no bounds. We've been waiting for our own opportunity to take him down for years. Santos's eyes landed on my wife, studying her with intrigue. So this is who the crazy fucker obsessed over. It wasn't a question. Does the whole world know he was obsessed with her? Raphael's attention returned to me. Well, everyone who has touched the flesh-trading world. I stiffened, but before I could smash his face against the wall, he added, You hear shit when your father has no scruples. May he rot in hell. He partnered with Cortez? And with Benito King, he deadpanned. He really knew how to make friends in his time. Benito King led the cells, once upon a time, in North America. His business dealings in trading flesh were referenced as the Bells and Mobsters Agreement, while in South America, Perez ran the Maravilla agreements. It made you wonder who inspired whom. Benito King was a bastard, and none other than his own daughter had put an end to him. She and Raina had that in common, if nothing else. I sighed. The women who survived the underworld were stronger than the men. A lot fucking stronger. I'm guessing you didn't approve. I didn't, he acknowledged. You know it was the fact she was Leone's daughter that made her a target, not you. I narrowed my eyes. You sound pretty confident in your assumptions. He shrugged. Call it what you will. Been there, done that. I'm just pointing out the obvious. And how do you know she's Angelo's daughter? I questioned. After all, it was only mere months ago that I learned it. That idiot Perez never excluded my old man's route in his distributions. It was on the tip of my tongue to ask why he didn't stop it when he clarified. Since my father preferred Benito's agreements, Perez didn't include many details, and the messages on the dark web were encrypted. It didn't fucking matter anyhow. His father was dead. How did Perez know Raina was Angelo's daughter? The silence that followed didn't bode well. Ever since the attack, I'd had a bad feeling that something big was brewing in the background. Someone within the Yakuza. I don't have a name. His hand landed on my shoulder. Whatever else you need, just let me know. With that, he turned around and left, leaving me alone with my thoughts. The Yakuza. There was only one way they would know. My mother. Did she hate Romero so much she'd sell out an innocent woman to a cruel bastard? Or was it to get back at Angelo? It was inconceivable that she'd take things that far. I know that look. Dante's voice came from behind me. Shit's about to go down. His gaze flicked to Reina's still form. I hope we get to rip out some intestines and wrap them around some poor fucker's throat. I looked at my brother, really looked at him, noting the clammy skin. The haunted look in his eyes that I hadn't seen in a while had returned and stared me back in the face. It resembled the look I saw in Reina's when I found her. Are you okay? I asked, watching him warily. Yes, of course. He wasn't. But I knew my brother well enough to know pushing for an answer would have the opposite effect. What are you fuming about? Who says I'm fuming? I asked, tone cold. Dante's eyes flicked to Reina. My little sister's alive, so it can't be related to her. It had everything to do with her. This world started and ended with her. It was built for the two of us, and whoever stood in our way would be eliminated. Even my own mother. 17. Eamon. Some of the women we rescued had asked to stay behind in Colombia under Raphael's protection. Others wanted to go back home, wherever home was. We worked out the logistics to ensure no woman was left unaccounted or uncared for, thanks to the men Raphael supplied. These women had gone through hell, and the evidence was in their skittish movements, their trembling hands. Not one woman had yet to utter a single word directly to us, although they spoke to the doctors and nurses. The Santos compound was home for 3 days. The doctors treated the wounds on Reina's body and pumped her with fluids. I stayed with her through it all, letting it feed my rage. Soon I'd shred the rest of the culprits with my bare fucking teeth. The first 24 hours, I stayed with her every second, unable to let myself believe she was really here, that she was safe. The door to the hospital room opened, and Dante appeared. He looked harsher, and he seemed to be fighting to keep that smug grin fastened on his face, his trusty mask. But it was all wrong. You should get some rest, Dante, I told him, turning back to look at my wife. He entered the room, and an eerie sense of déjà vu washed over me. 3 years ago, we were in a similar situation. Reina fighting for her life, and the two of us fighting our own demons. You need rest more than me, Eamon, Dante reasoned. I'm fine, I grumbled, resisting the need for sleep. No, you're not. Dante glanced over his shoulder. Besides, if you want to make Perez pay, you're going to need your strength, because Raphael and Cayenne are planning some majorly fucked up shit. His eyes lit up. It's going to be awesome. He worried me. His usually volatile persona had been cranked up a notch, magnified, and was simmering under the surface and waiting to explode. What exactly are they planning? They're setting up some kind of Hunger Games shit so they can torture him and extract answers fast. I sighed, pulling out my phone. I couldn't deal with batshit crazy right now. yet it seemed I was being forced to. As if he heard my thoughts, Cayenne and Raphael appeared at the doorway. "Your brother's such a tattletale," Cayenne grumbled. "I know not to give him any of my secrets." I smiled wryly, not bothering to correct him. Dante had never betrayed a single secret in his life. If I wanted to keep a secret, I could always count on him. "So, a Hunger Games-themed party?" I asked, changing subjects. "He's got to pay," Cayenne gritted. "It's the only way to regain the power his operation has taken from us. It's a stain on the organization, and we will not be seen to stand for it. Let the fuckers find out what happens to those who dare to even consider trading flesh in our territories." Cold fury leached from his voice. It was the same one I felt burning through my veins. "You won't hear me arguing. When and where?" "First thing in the morning," Cayenne answered, and my eyes darted to the wall clock. That was in 2 hours. "Meet me in the courtyard." "I can't leave Reyna alone." "My wife, Sailor, can stay with her," Raphael offered. Reyna would want Perez dead. I knew it without a shred of doubt. "Okay," I confirmed. Raphael grinned. "I'm going to enjoy this." This time, Dante smiled his true crazy smile. "Ditto." Once they were out of the room, I slid in next to Reyna on the hospital bed, careful not to hurt her. Sleep didn't find me, but for the next 2 hours, my palm rested on her chest, and I pulled comfort from the steady thrum of her heartbeat. Raphael was back in precisely 2 hours, announcing it was time to go. A petite woman with platinum blonde hair stood next to him. "This is Sailor," he said. "She'll stay with your wife." She extended her hand.
"I'll keep her safe. Raphael's guards are everywhere, too."
Once we were outside, I found Cayenne and Dante already waiting in the courtyard. Right outside the gates, trees lined the acres and acres of property. He could escape, but he wouldn't. Raphael had guards surrounding the hospital. If we failed, and we wouldn't, they had a standing order: shoot to kill. Perez stood in front of his brother, holding tightly to his pride. "What kind of shit is this?" he retorted, like the pompous ass we all knew him to be. I smiled grimly, taking a page out of Dante's book. "We're going to play tag. And guess what?" I drawled. "You're it." Cayenne's lip curled in disgust. "Let's see how you like being on the other end of your torture methods." Dante scoffed. "Maybe we should slice his dick off when we're done with him. While he's still alive, of course." My eyes still on the fucker, I nodded. "We will. But before he dies, he'll tell me who betrayed me." Perez must have found my words amusing, because he started laughing. "You don't have to look far," he said. "Take a look at those closest to you." "I want names," I said dryly. "You'll never get them from me." He must still feel brave. That would soon change. I flicked a glance at Cayenne, giving him a terse nod. "Run," I commanded. He was about to taste his own medicine. "When we catch you, you'll get exactly what you gave Reyna." "What you gave to our sister," Cayenne spat. "What you've done to all those women," Raphael finished. He looked between us, and noting our seriousness, he turned, and he ran. I shared a look with Cayenne and Raphael. A final nod had us stalking forward. Frost still covered the grounds, but in another few hours it'd be scorching. It was the way of the Colombian Amazon. I headed further into the woods, my footsteps silent against the forest floor crumbling beneath my feet. The wind swept through the leaves, the first sounds of dawn chirping in the trees. Tuning out anything apart from what would serve me out here, I heard it. Heavy breathing, branches snapping beneath clumsy footsteps. Then I saw the footprints, and it quickly became child's play. I followed his tracks until I found him hiding behind a tree, like a fucking coward. To my disappointment, Kyan was about 20 feet away, homing in on our quivering target. "How does it feel?" I called out, "knowing your fate?" He didn't answer, but his breathing said enough. "Are you tasting fear, like our little sister did when she was sent to the whorehouse?" Kyan asked, as I took a silent step closer. I couldn't wait to start toying with him and hearing his screams. "Is your heart pounding so hard you're worried you'll have a heart attack?" I taunted. "Don't worry. You'll be begging for one by the time we're done with you." I could taste his fear on my tongue. Desperation permeated the air, and a stillness settled over us. Both Kyan and I anticipated his brother's movement. Perez jumped out from behind the tree, bolting in the opposite direction from me. My knife was out of its holster in the next breath and flying through the air with a soft swish until it found its aim, slicing through his calf. A screech pierced my ears, sending birds scattering through the canopy of trees. I watched with apathy as he fell flat on his face, then worked to drag himself up. His leg dragging, he attempted to limp away. Big mistake, because Kyan threw his knife, slicing his other calf. A pitiful yelp, or more like a pussy screech, traveled across the forest. Jesus, he's going to wake up the whole country. Raphael showed up out of nowhere. It only now registered that he was wearing a white suit. A white fucking suit and combat boots. "You know that suit will be red by the time we're done with this guy," I clipped, suddenly feeling better than I had in weeks. Crouching beside Perez, I cocked my head and tisked at him. "See what happens when you fuck with me?" "I should have shot you in that ugly head of yours," he shouted from the top of his lungs, his voice breaking as I pulled my knife out of his calf. Blood gushed down his leg, soaking his filthy socks. "It's my favorite knife. You understand, don't you?" I didn't give two shits whether or not he did. "Good idea," Kyan chimed. "I want my knife back too." The black fury I felt in my chest emanated from Kyan in the same way. "It'll be my lucky one, since it's about to shred this motherfucker to pieces." Perez bared his teeth in agony, snarling like a kid who just lost a game. "You're all psycho bitches," he screamed. We shared amused looks. "Lead the way, Raphael," I said, grabbing the fucker by the front of his shirt. "I hope it's a long way to the torture chamber." "Don't you worry," he drawled. "We'll take the scenic route." I dragged Perez, purposely hitting stumps and rocks to ensure he got the roughest ride. It took only 10 minutes to find the spot where Raphael had stashed away his torture gadgets, a bunker that looked like it belonged in World War II, somewhere in Europe. You'd never believe that shit was in Colombia. "That's freaky," Kyan remarked dryly, pointing to the array of instruments. I shoved Perez into the middle of the concrete circle, letting Kyan and Raphael secure his wrists and ankles. He begged and stuttered, promising all kinds of riches, while sweat poured down his face. He was no longer proving to be the calm, fearless prisoner. "I'm sorry." I kicked him hard in the stomach, cutting his breath and his apology short. "No apology will do here," Kyan remarked. "I want to see you suffer," I added. "How did you find out my location? How did you know we'd be in the Philippines?" He pressed his lips together in clear refusal, and I punched him hard, breaking his nose. "No." I took advantage of his open mouth and shoved my knife into it, slicing his tongue. Blood spurted out of him like a damn water hose. "I always wondered if cutting a man's tongue floods their mouth with blood," Kyan drawled. "We'll save that for the last act." I grinned, bringing my knife to his groin area. "This will come first. We'll make the tongue the grand finale. I want to hear his screams when his dick drops to the ground." "Sounds like a good plan." Kyan's smile was the picture of menace. "This won't bring my sister back, but it sure as fuck will make her spirit rest easier. I know it'll make me feel better." I took a step closer, the stench of piss invading my lungs. I ignored it, intent on making sure this fucker felt agony before he drew his last breath. Sweat poured down his face as I brought my blade to his throat. "Who gave you the information on our location?" I demanded. I pushed it into his flesh, then twisted it clockwise. "Your cousin," he wailed. How in the fucking hell would my cousin know? "Who was his contact?" I asked. "I don't know. Your cousin came for the auction to see Reyna one last time, and to collect his finder's fee." The anger was hot and red, filling my vision with crimson. "You shall not see," I said, and his eyes widened just enough for me to pluck out his left eyeball. I let out a heavy sigh, barely audible over his howls. "Okay, I'll let you watch me through one eyeball." While he was writhing around on the ground, clawing at his face, I grabbed 2 blades, then returned to his body. "I really wish Ghost were here," I purred, plunging a knife through his left palm. His scream was a fucking symphony, worth recording and listening to over and over again. He'd pull your teeth out. Unfortunately, I don't have the stomach for it. "Yeah, he's savage," Kyan agreed. Perez started to laugh, the act throwing me off. "What's so funny?" Raphael demanded. I was curious now, too. That seemed to only make him laugh harder. If he can laugh, he's not in enough pain. And by God, he'd be in so much pain by the time I was done with him. For Reyna, for every woman he ever hurt. "Limbs are next," I announced helpfully. "Or not." I grabbed a saw and waved it in front of him to ensure he understood what I meant. And boy, did he scream. All I could think about was the state of my wife and the dead and dismembered women we found at his torture compound. Much to his dismay, I started with his left arm, leaving him hanging like a broken swing. He screamed and shit himself. "God, my kids don't even cry this much," Raphael complained. Just as I predicted, Raphael's white suit had red stains all over it, even though he had yet to have his turn with Perez. "So glad he stopped laughing," Kyan grumbled. That was annoying. Shit. I cut the arm with the blade piercing his palm. I meant to do the other one. I plunged the blade through his right palm this time. I didn't bother removing the fucker's pants. Nobody needed to see his dick. I just raised my knife and stabbed it into his groin and pelvis area. Do you like the color of blood? I hissed as I kept stabbing his groin area. The stench of blood and piss mixed in the air, but I ignored it. This was for my wife. I turned to Kyan. The tongue is all yours. Perez had been in and out of consciousness, but his one eye widened at that, full of pure, delicious terror. And I watched Kyan cut his brother's tongue clean off in the span of a single heartbeat. But it was my face he saw last. I made sure of it. Another day, and Reyna was cleared to travel. It took $2 million to persuade the doctor to fly back to the Philippines with us. None of us were on our deathbeds. A few bullet wounds, broken bones, and mostly superficial injuries. We were lucky. Reyna, not so much. Her condition left her mostly unconscious. There was a time or two when she'd even stopped breathing. My heart stopped right along with her. According to the doctor, it was how Reyna's central nervous system reacted to the absence of heroin. It slowed down her breathing to the point of stopping, and it regulated her temperature and blood pressure. We had to flush her system out. Dante was sitting in the seat beside me, playing with his switchblade, his mood darkening with each mile we put behind us. Have you heard anything about Phoenix? I asked him, knowing he had Cesar on it. No, she's good at hiding, he muttered. You think Romero is helping her? Considering how much he's freaking out, I doubt it, I remarked. Maybe her grandmother? I have men watching her. Clenching his jaw, he grabbed the glass from the table and poured the rest of his Guinness into it. Thank fuck it wasn't bourbon or whiskey. That would prove to be very bad. And I have all her lines tapped. Nothing there either. There was a stretch of silence. Then my brother eventually broke it. I'll find her, though, if it's the last thing I do. Lifting my glass, I took a long, slow drink of my bourbon. Are you sure you're all right? You seem on edge. Dante shot me a sideways look. I remembered something. My brows tightened. About? He clenched his teeth, shadows crossing his expression. Reyna's needle marks, he started, rising to his feet. They took me back to when I was captured. What? He shook his head, pushing his hands through his hair. Let me sort through it first, he said, exhaling a heavy breath. He strode toward the front of the jet and disappeared into the cockpit, but it didn't take long for Kyan to take his spot. Darius would have been here, drinking whiskey with us, but he'd stayed in Colombia an extra day to take one of the women home to her family. Your brother doing okay? I narrowed my eyes. Why do you ask? Back at the Cortez compound, he looked like he was seeing ghosts, he remarked. The wheels in my head started turning. Could it be that the Cortez cartel was responsible for Dante's abduction years ago? He'll be okay, I gritted. I hope. How is Reyna doing? My gaze flickered to the back of the plane, where Reyna was sleeping, curled up on her side. She was bruised and weak, but with the way the nurses had dressed her in pink shorts and a baggy white tank top, I let myself feel hopeful. Not great, but she'll pull through. She had to, for herself. for us. Rising from my seat, I made my way toward the small bedroom in the back of the plane. The doctor sat there, monitoring her vitals, and the moment I stepped in, he looked up from the IV stand he was adjusting. "Unchanged," he stated calmly, anticipating my question, then nodded before making himself scarce. I sat on the edge of the bed, then reached around my neck to unhook her necklace. I'd kept it on me all this time, holding on to the hope that she'd come back to me. I fastened it around her neck while pressing my lips to her forehead. "Cinnamon girl," I murmured against her damp forehead. "I've waited for you since I was 12 years old. I fell in love with you before I knew what love was. Please, don't leave me alone. I'm nothing without you." But instead of finding comfort in my words, a terrified scream tore through my wife's lips. I recoiled, unsure of what to do, all the while feeling my insides turn to liquid. It was the kind of scream that nightmares were made of.
18. Raina. When I woke up next, I was in the Garden of Eden. It was just me and the sound of the waves, no cold, damp floor, no tortured screams, no blood or filth covering me from head to toe, no shadows and monsters, no Perez Cortez. I scratched at my forearms, feeling restless as my eyes roamed over the spacious bedroom. Wide open windows revealed blue skies. A breeze swept through the room, and there wasn't a single dark corner to be found. The soft hum of the ocean soothed me, at least while I was awake. "Come back to me." I remembered the whispers from some time in the night, a pair of strong arms rocking me back and forth. My screams, his words. "Please come back to me. I need you." My eyes lowered to my bare forearms and hands. Ugly scars marked my skin, but I chose to focus on the good. I had no choice.
"Welcome home, baby."
My father's voice pulled my attention, and I found him sitting with a book, looking like he'd aged a decade. He'd lost even more weight than when I'd last seen him. Purple shadows stained the skin underneath his eyes. "Papa?" I whispered, caught between disbelief and hope. Are you real?" He gave me a tired smile.
"Of course, baby girl."
He stood up and approached the bed, and I just stared at him. The mattress shifted under his weight, and his frail palm cupped my cheek.
"I didn't think I'd see you again before."
His voice cracked, and his face crumbled like an avalanche. I leaned into his cool touch, my chest tightening with each heartbeat. "I'm here," I whispered.
"You are."
A tear rolled down my cheek, and he wiped it off with his thumb.
"I'm so sorry, my baby girl. I failed at protecting you."
I swallowed the lump in my throat. "It's not your fault." We stared at each other, so many things unsaid, lingering between us. I'm not... How are you supposed to tell the man who raised you that you weren't his? "I'm not your daughter," I croaked, the emotion in my throat suffocating me. A heartbeat passed.
"I don't care who your biological father is. You are my daughter. Until my dying breath. It was my job to protect you, and I failed monumentally."
Ghosts lingered. Who started this story without our permission? Angelo, Hannah, even Mama. She was mostly the victim, but I couldn't remain oblivious to the fact that she'd had an affair with Angelo. If Angelo couldn't be sure which one of us was his, their relationship must have lasted a while. A shuddering breath left my lungs, loosening the tightness. "Papa, it's not your fault. You didn't fail at all. It's Angelo Leone's fault. He made me a target." He released my cheek, and a stretch of silence followed. His gaze rested on me, haunting questions in them unmistakable, but deep down I knew he didn't have the energy for the answers. He didn't have much time left on this earth.
I should have recognized the signs,
he muttered, moving back to the lounge near the window.
Grace begged me not to go to Leonie's home. She didn't want to move to Italy, which I chalked up to her nervousness. But I couldn't do business from the States, and I needed to arrange a business deal with Angelo to access his ports.
I was sick and tired of hearing justifications. Mama had had enough money to support us for several lifetimes. He didn't need to worry about any business deals, didn't need to put them before his family. What happened to her, Papa? I hesitated, looking at the wedding ring on my finger, at the sparkle that I didn't feel in my soul. Did Mama have an affair with him? A heavy sigh left him. Maybe I shouldn't have asked, but I didn't want to go through life wondering. I needed to know the truth.
Grandma will kill me if she learns I told you,
he muttered. Then a mischievous smile curved his lips.
It's a good thing I'm almost there already.
I rose from the bed and padded over to him, wrapping my arms around him and hugging him tightly.
I'll be meeting your mama soon enough, so I'm sure she'll have her say in the matter too.
That's a morbid joke, I muttered, sighing tiredly, my tremors increasing and the itch under my skin spreading. My body begged me to return to the bed, to the warm sheets, but I knew I had to be strong. He waved his hand.
I earned that right.
He might have a point there. I lowered to sit next to him, my eyes catching the sight of my bare legs. My skin was no longer flawless. They carried maps of my pain, of what I'd endured. I closed my eyes and waited for him to start.
God, I'm not even sure where to begin,
he grumbled. The beginning, I whispered, terrified of the truths I'd learn. I glanced out the window while he gathered his thoughts, letting it sink in for the first time that I was finally at Eamon's house in the Philippines. I always imagined what it would be like, especially after finding out he'd spent much of the time we were apart here. I could see why now, just by looking out the window at the calm turquoise waters, lapping against the stilts my bedroom sat on. The scent of salt mingled with the humidity and promised to keep me warm. I needed to feel warm.
Okay. Well, as you know by now, I was married before your mama,
he started. I tensed, my fingernails digging into my palms. I now knew who he was married to, and who was the result of that marriage.
But I didn't tell her, and when she learned, she became quite upset, thinking she was the reason behind it.
Was she? He shook his head.
No. Hannah, Eamon's mother, who you've met, and I didn't see eye to eye. But I came to that revelation too late. We were already married by then. Like a fool, I convinced myself that the business deals that would come along with it would be worth it. Bottom line, it was deceitful. And I can see now that it was wrong to lie, even by omission. I made that mistake with your mother, with you, and your sister.
I nodded, unsure what I was feeling right now. Our parents kept way too many secrets from us, and they weren't the only ones paying for them. Eamon, me, Phoenix, heck, even Dante, who'd almost married his half-sister. It was all fucking wrong.
I'm sorry you didn't hear it all from me first,
he said, clearly at a loss for where to go from here. What did Hannah want that you didn't? I asked, my voice hoarse.
She wanted more power, more control, to secure our future children's positions. It's best if you don't know the details. What matters is she wanted power and control. I never did. Business dealings, yes, but not the kind of shit she was after. Ruling over the Yakuza was never on my radar.
My brows furrowed, but before I could question it, he continued.
She took our separation hard. Grace found out that I left Hannah for her, that I was married before. It was a half-truth, but it was enough to send Grace searching for comfort outside our marriage. I never knew it was with Angelo Leone.
Fuck, it was so damn messy it made my head spin.
I learned only recently that the marriage wasn't annulled at all. Jesus, I'm still married to that crazy woman.
When did you learn about the annulment? Or, I guess, the lack of it? I asked. His lips thinned.
Not until you disappeared.
How did you find out?
Your husband.
I couldn't breathe. I didn't know who was the most wrong in that quadrangle. Papa for lying, Mama for cheating, Eamon's mother for being a bitch, or Angelo Leone for touching someone else's wife. Then, something occurred to me. Did Angelo know I was his? He couldn't have. His last words to me were that Phoenix was his.
That's the confusing part,
he muttered, pushing his wrinkled hand through his thin hair.
When we arranged the marriage, it was between his eldest and mine.
Eamon and Phoenix? I rasped, something about it not sitting well with me. He nodded.
But then he approached me and insisted we change it to you. Except, why would he do that, knowing you're his daughter? He was a sadistic bastard, but there's no way he'd support incest.
My eyes bulged in shock.
Unless he knew Eamon wasn't his, although I don't think that's it either. Because why bother making a mutually beneficial marriage arrangement for a son that isn't yours?
I agree. Angelo Leone didn't seem the kind who'd care for an adoptive son. In order for him to go to such lengths, he'd have to truly believe Eamon was his.
Reina, Eamon's my son.
So many secrets, so many lies, so many betrayals. Was anything sacred in the underworld? Then a realization sunk in and my eyes widened. You knew the entire time Eamon was yours?
No. I only learned shortly after Angelo died. I looked into the reason for his insistence on changing the name from Phoenix to you. I didn't find his reason, but I learned Eamon was mine.
All this entanglement was giving me a headache.
When Angelo died, Dante approached me to sign off on the agreement. So I insisted that we replace Eamon's name with his. Never in a million years did I think you were Angelo's daughter.
My temples throbbed. It had become a constant feeling that rarely went away, and when it did, it was to be replaced with terror.
We really fucked up, huh? But Eamon loves you. He refused to give up, gathering a rescue party, organizing the mission day in and day out.
Papa smiled through his tears.
You children will do better than us.
I wasn't so sure, but I didn't want to worry him further. I could call him out on handling everything poorly, being the indirect reason for Mama's affair, inadvertently causing her death, not being there when Phoenix and I needed him for emotional support, and for not letting us find love on our own terms. He should have never drawn up a marriage agreement in the first place. It was barbaric and fucking wrong. But none of it would erase what happened, and there was no sense in playing the blame game now. Where's Phoenix? I questioned, not missing the way his face fell.
I'm going to get your grandma, or she'll have my balls.
You're right about that. Both of us turned our heads to find her standing in the doorway in all her glory. Her eyes met mine, and she gave me one of her beaming Hollywood smiles. You sure know how to worry us, Reina. I'm sorry, Grandma, I whispered, rising to my unsteady feet. She shook her head and came over. I want to live long enough to see my great-grandchildren, and I'm not sure my heart can endure anything like this happening again. I winced at her words, and my eyes flickered to Papa, knowing he wouldn't live to see his grandchildren. Not that I was remotely thinking about children at this point. Where's Phoenix? I asked again, but all it earned me was a sad silence. They didn't grab her, I whispered, moving away from both of them. right? Grandma wouldn't allow any space. They did not, she assured, rubbing my arm softly. Don't worry about Phoenix. She's fine. The desperation and uncertainty in her voice was unmistakable. My stomach dropped. They didn't have a fucking clue where she was. The tremor started in my toes, slithering up my body and dug into the marrow of my bones. Panic grew and grew until it suffocated me. It seized my body and paradise became hell once more. You're lying, I screamed, a raging storm gathering in my chest and my mind. Where is she? Panic rose up, feeding me fear and hopelessness. Images of the torture I endured crashed over me, except my face was replaced with my sister's. The blood-curdling scream pierced my ears through the ringing. Was the sound coming from me? I watched the woman I'd become, as if from above, crouched near the floor, hands over ears, crying, "No, no, no!" Then a prick. The room spun. I gasped. Ba-bum. 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 My heartbeat slowed. Faces swirled before my eyes. Papa's. Grandma's, Dante's, his. The little boy whose stars had swallowed me all those years ago. Then the world went pitch black, and the horror's shadow disappeared. I knew it would be back.
19. Eamon. Okay, everyone out, I gritted, as I laid Raina back on her bed. I hated sedating her. It wasn't the right way to help her heal. The therapist said not to crowd her, so why am I finding you both in here? I'm guessing she knows about her sister now. God damn it. None of this was in her treatment plan. She'd been crystal fucking clear with her instructions. Why couldn't anyone follow them? Raina needed time and space, not to be overwhelmed by things she couldn't control.
I showed up and Tommaso was still here.
I swear to God, Raina's grandmother was a pain in my fucking ass. If her concern for her granddaughter wasn't so deep-seated, I'd send her away.
I think she's getting better,
she stated calmly, causing me to do a double take. Was she fucking blind?
Well, aside from the stress of Phoenix being unreachable.
And I fucking lost it. Her visible scars are healing, I hissed, eyes flitting over the yellowing bruises on her body, the gashes on her skin. But there are invisible ones too. I know them as if they're my own. Mutilations she's hiding from everyone. So don't tell me she's getting better. The hurt in Diana's eyes had me regretting the harshness of my words, but not enough to apologize. The time for seeing things through rose-colored glasses had long since passed. Raina was so fucking far from being better. Her screams at night kept everyone awake. The way she stared at a blank spot on the wall for hours without saying a word was even worse. It would take years, if not a lifetime, of therapy to get my happy cinnamon girl back.
You're just mad because I had you kicked out of her hospital room 3 years ago.
Fury and ice shot through me at her words, rendering me speechless. She really thought that fucking little of me to think I'd stoop so low. If that were the case, I wouldn't allow you to sit in my home and be around my wife. The tone of my voice rippled with the undercurrent of anger that threatened to erupt. I already took accountability for that accident, harbored enough guilt. I didn't need to get petty about it. Watch what you say next, Diana, or you'll find yourself back in England before the day is over.
I can say whatever I want. It's a free country and I'm a grown-ass woman,
she hissed, glaring at me.
Besides, what do you want? An apology?
Those words never left my mouth. I understood your position back then, and I've moved on from that. Reina's my wife, though, and she needs to recover in peace, without your drama. So either get on board or leave. Romero chimed in. I agree with Eamon. The last thing Reina needs is more stress. This is not helping her.
But...
Get out of this room and let her rest, I hissed, my eyes locked on hers. She whirled around, smarting at my tone. With a terse nod at Romero, I left too, so I could get my shit together. So, for the next 30 minutes, I watched from the monitor as my sedated wife slept. This was the closest I could get to her without provoking her panic attacks. Fuck, I didn't know how we'd get through this if the sight of me alone caused her condition to worsen. It barely registered when Dante and Romero entered my office, and it was only when they were 2 feet away that I quickly switched the screen to my hacker's report. They took a seat, eyeing me suspiciously. I finally snapped. What? Dante raised his hands as if in surrender. I didn't say anything. But you thought it, I grumbled. It was another side effect of sleepless nights and the distance Reina carved between us. I was cranky as fuck. My brother had been more than happy to call it out on several occasions. I heard what happened, he stated. I'm proud of you for telling the dragon off. Dante wasn't helping at all. If you want me to talk to her, I volunteer to put her in her place. I shot him a dry look. I bet, but I got it. Romero actually rolled his eyes. He and Dante weren't exactly amicable per se. Reina will get better, Romero stated. She's strong. She always has been. But you need to be better too, Dante added, watching me closely. For her, if not for yourself. The fact that he was right only pissed me off more. He was the irrational one, and I was supposed to be the reasonable one. Besides, you'll need your energy once my half-sister and I gang up on you. Fuck, I wouldn't mind that at all. It would mean she was well enough, and I'd happily take whatever they had to give. Let's focus on filtering through this report, I finally said. We have to locate Hiroshi and the others. For the next few hours, we screened through my surveillance software using facial recognition. The half-dozen screens in my office gave us access to hotspots for criminal activity around the world. Every airport, every train station, even the activity on the dark web. We were hunting, and we wouldn't rest until we found every fucking person who dared to be part of the attack on my wife. It didn't matter that they'd attacked me. That came with the territory. But her? That was unforgivable. I needed closure, and I suspected my wife did too. Any news? I asked, crossing my arms over my chest. Leads? Dante's lips tightened, and he shook his head. It's like they disappeared into thin air. He was right. My mother and Hiroshi were nowhere to be found. I had my men and anyone who owed me a favor searching for them. Her properties all came up empty. No one claimed to have heard from them in weeks. I don't know, Eamon. Your mother might be a lot of things, but I just can't see her taking a chance on you getting hurt, Romero said. My jaw clenched, and I curled my fingers into fists. It was a sore subject, although kind of ironic. She'd made his life hell, hindered the legality of his second marriage, and still he was defending her. As if he could read my thoughts, he continued. I'm not saying she's a saint, but attempted murder of her own son? I wouldn't think so. Dante lifted his head. I hate to agree with the man, but I have no choice here. Why go years protecting you, us, only to do something like this? But then who? I questioned. My cousin certainly doesn't have the bandwidth to organize shit like that. How about Hiroshi? The question came from Romero. His right-hand man? Dante asked, clearly as confused as me, to which Romero nodded his head. He benefits more if Eamon is alive than dead. I turned to face Romero. If there's something you know, now is the time to share. His eyes darted behind me, and I followed his gaze to the painting. It was Oji-san's, I clarified. I know. He's rumored to have cherished it above almost anything. He was right. It was my grandfather's favorite. The last time I saw him, he said something strange, and I have never been able to shake it. Which was? Romero shook his head. That it contains the secret to his legacy. Maybe the old man was crazy, Dante said in a dry tone. I frowned, thinking back to what I knew about Oji-san. He was one of the sharpest men I'd ever met. Everything he did came with a purpose. Romero, was there an agreement drawn between you and Oji-san when you married my mother? Romero waved his hand tiredly. His fatigue was getting worse by the day. Yes, we agreed that he'd supply me with drugs and I'd let him use my ports for his European distribution. My brows furrowed. Nothing else? Like what? Concerning your daughters and their involvement in the Yakuza. Romero let out a dry laugh. Are you nuts? Your Oji-san barely tolerated outsiders in his business. Marrying your mother was just another business deal, one he didn't even support in the beginning. Why would he put anything in place for my children? Dante and I shared a look. What about ensuring succession for the Yakuza? Romero shrugged. He had a contingency plan drawn up in the event no Takahashi heirs were produced. What did it say? Romero shrugged. No fucking clue. It wasn't written in English. Hana and I went our separate ways, and considering your cousin was born, the document was useless to me. I had it destroyed. Did my mother know? I questioned, realization dawning on me. This had to be the document she was after. I assume so. I told her I was going to get rid of it. So why would she task us with finding it? I muttered more to myself than anyone else. Maybe she was looking for their marriage certificate so she could prove your legitimacy and claim to the Omerta seat, Dante suggested, his tone unsure. She just didn't want to outright say it because it'd reveal her secret. Maybe, I agreed, but my intuition warned there was something more. Returning my attention to the painting, my chest throbbed painfully. Those floating lanterns would forever remind me of Reina. My first dance. Our first dance. Any trace of the idiot? Dante asked. No, none. I suspected Itsuki might be with my mother, which left the taste of bile in my mouth. All evidence pointed to her. She knew about the illegitimacy of Romero's girls. She was the only one who could have slipped a connection to the Cortez cartel, making her a permanent target. The question was, why? That was the part I couldn't wrap my head around. Of course, Romero wasn't completely innocent in that clusterfuck either. His dodgy business dealings had been putting both his daughters at risk for over a decade. God damn it, none of it made sense. Perez had stated his information came from the Yakuza, and he truly had nothing to lose. I needed to start taking the idea of my mother wanting the throne to the Yakuza seriously. We'd been suspecting it for years, and Romero confirmed she was hungry for power, even before I was born. It didn't fucking matter. I'd have given her whatever she wanted, if only she'd asked. But instead, she fucking dared to allow the kidnapping of my wife. My wife. My mother might as well have been the one to inflict every one of those scars on my wife. She hurt her. Hurt us. I couldn't forgive that. Her hate for the people who'd wronged her had taken her too far this time. I read through the reports from my hacker again, worried I'd missed some clues. There was only one thing that jumped out at me. My mother had withdrawn $5 million right before the attack happened. If I didn't know any better, I'd say she was preparing to flee. I shook my head. The bottom line was that Mother and Hiroshi betrayed me. I suspected the latter did it because he loved my mother, but his loyalty should have been to me first. We could have come to a different resolution. Romero, why don't you go lie down? I suggested, noting how he swayed on his feet. He was getting weaker by the day, and none of this stress could be good for him. We had our differences, sure, but he was still my father-in-law. Well, technically, my father. That's not a bad idea. He made his way out of the room, then lingered in the doorway. He glanced over his shoulder. Thank you for getting her home, Eamon. A beep pierced the air, and my eyes snapped to the monitor. Is it Phoenix? Phoenix's whereabouts were a top priority, even more than finding my mother and Hiroshi. Her last known location was the Paris airport. From there, we had nothing. No ticket, no trail. We'd scanned all individuals who flew that day to ensure she didn't use a fake name. I didn't like the idea of Dante's distress. He was here for me, but I suspected he wanted to be out there searching for her. I shook my head. It's not Phoenix, I told him. Dante's eyes were bloodshot, but alert. There was no way he was getting any sleep these days. It's my dear cousin. An unhinged smile curved his lips. Bingo. Motherfucker's about to die. He sure fucking was. I tasted the bloodthirst that I usually saw lingering in Dante's eyes. I would enjoy killing Itsuki as much as I enjoyed killing Perez. Where is he? Dante questioned. Japan, hiding in Oji-san's bunker. It dated back to World War II, meaning zero surveillance. No wonder I hadn't been able to find him. But not for much longer. Want me to go with you? I shook my head. No, I want you to stay here with Reina. I don't trust her grandmother. After all, she'd kept me from her before. And Romero's feeling worse by the day. Dante's jaw clenched, but he didn't say anything. You still despise him, I stated. Why? His expression darkened. He just rubs me the wrong way. I knew him well enough not to push. Instead, I took a seat next to him and switched to Italian, asking, How are you really? Been better? Dante answered. I scrubbed a hand over my face. I love you, brother, and I will forever be grateful for your help. But I think it's time you went searching for her. He was going out of his mind, and that never boded well for anyone, least of all him. When he opened his mouth to protest, I cut him off. Romero's health is deteriorating. He'll be doing both him and Phoenix a favor if you reunite them before he keels over. He stared at me pensively, and I could see him coming to terms with my recommendation. Hell, my brother needed all the points he could get. Considering all the glares Phoenix always shot him, I suspected she wouldn't make it easy on him. Besides, I planned on taking my wife away for a little bit, just the two of us. Sort of a modified recovery plan by way of honeymoon. What about you? Dante questioned. And Reyna? I think maybe a change of scenery will do her some good. I was grasping for ideas to help her. Just the two of us. Dante stared at me, his fingers tapping against his thigh. I don't think her grandmother or Romero will be happy with that, he quipped, pointing out the obvious. They'll have to deal with it. My attention flicked to one of the computer screens. I can monitor all of this from anywhere in the world, and Reyna's not getting any better here. How much longer does Romero have? Or should we call him by his first name now? He rolled his eyes, while I shook my head at his nonsense. Tommaso. He tested the name like it was a bitter pill. I shrugged. I don't think it matters what we call him. He might only be around for another month or two. His tapping paused, and he pursed his lips. I might need him gone faster, if he's going to get in the way of me marrying Phoenix. I didn't have any attachment to Romero, but I didn't think Reyna would cope. You'd better not get any ideas, Dante. I could tell by his expression that he probably wanted to punch me in the face for not taking his side. Any other time I would, but this was my wife we were talking about. Well, he'd better not get in my way, he finally said. That dragon of a grandmother either. I let out a dark chuckle. His determination reminded me of my own not too long ago. One way or another, Phoenix will marry me. It was no coincidence we went a bit over the top for the women we wanted. After all, we were brought up together. But it was the fact that he was a replica of Angelo Leone that bothered me the most. 20. Eamon. I didn't grow up around my Oji-san like my cousin did, but I knew every inch of his compound by heart, courtesy of my mother. She pounded it into me, having me study every inch of the home that would one day belong to me. She insisted I understood the hierarchy in the Yakuza, the ins and outs, the language, all in preparation, it occurred to me somewhat grimly, for this very moment. I made my way through the back of the compound, and then down the staircase that led to the bunker, all without running into a single obstacle. Careful to keep my steps light, I stopped in front of the bunker door, listening for any noise. It sounded like he was watching Handbasho, a grand sumo tournament. I waited for the announcer to shout a score, and for the spectators to cheer. Then I cracked the door open. I took in the surroundings. A gun thrown carelessly on the table by the door. His boots and socks. A pair of pants discarded by the couch, and a shirt thrown over the coffee table. It was a fucking hovel. I guess I should have felt lucky the fucker was wearing boxers. He was so engrossed in the match, he never even noticed me approaching him. 2 steps, and I was right behind him, wasting no time. I pulled out my knife, slicing his ear off in one go. He jolted up to his feet, screaming out in agony while clutching his head. Blood dripped through his fingers, drenching his hand. He watched me with terror in his eyes. "What's the matter, Itsuki?" I drawled. "Nobody to hide behind, huh?" I didn't usually revel in torture, but I'd enjoy every fucking second of making this asshole cry. Just like Perez did. There'd be no mercy before I killed him. Nobody threatened my woman and lived. I'd destroy everything and everyone to keep her safe. Please, don't, he begged. Don't what? Slice your other ear? I held up the bloody knife, and his face paled a few shades. Don't kill me, he cried. I circled the couch casually. I warned you to keep away from her years ago. He didn't comment as his eyes flitted around, searching for his gun. Unlucky for him, I knew it was on the table by the door. I bet he wished he kept his clothes on now. How did you find me? He stuttered. I ignored his question. Did you tell Perez about Reyna? My answer was in his guilty expression. How did you know? When he remained quiet, I continued. Give me the answers, and I'll expedite your death. His pupils dilated, and his nostrils flared, but his instinct to survive prevailed. He lunged at me, but he was sloppy. My knife slammed into his shoulder, and his blood-curdling scream could have set off an earthquake. He fell to his knees and wept. Please, Eamon. Begging won't help you now, I said coldly. The image of Reyna the day I found her, and the sounds of her screaming through the nightmares that still plagued her, flashing through my mind. There'd be no mercy for him. I reached for the thin wire in my pocket and ripped it out. I took advantage of his position and wrapped it around his neck. If you're not going to talk, I might as well drag it out of you. I choked him, drinking in his pained whimpers. I freed one hand next and stabbed him in the gut. Who told you where Reyna and I would be? He was too weak to fight back. He begged, cried, and screamed. Death refused to come for him. It was by design. I wanted answers before I killed him off. Twisting my knife in his gut, I repeated my question. Who? Tell me, and it'll be over. He let out another piercing scream, and I rolled my eyes. He had always been weak, but it was never more apparent than now. He wouldn't last long, and his next words confirmed it. Your mother. Blood dripped down his chin. It was your mother. My pulse thundered in my ears, while red drenched my vision. Betrayal, rage, disappointment. I pulled the wire taut and sliced his throat. After all, a promise was a promise. As he took his last breath, I got a text. The heads of the Yakuza's 4 syndicate groups called a closed vote meeting. No guards, no right-hand men, just the leaders. It could only mean 2 things. They wanted a new leader for the Yakuza with fresh Takahashi blood, or someone was about to be executed. News had never traveled so fast. There were 4 syndicates within the Yakuza that called all the shots. The Yamaguchi-gumi was the largest Yakuza family. The Sumiyoshi Kai was the second largest. Inagawa Kai was a close third, with the 4th one being Kudo Kai. The head managing all 4 was always a male member of the Takahashi family. My great-great-grandfather made it so. But ironically, he also made it a democratic process. All 4 members had to agree unanimously on the leader of the Takahashi crime organization. The fucking vote couldn't have come at a worse time. I kept checking my phone for any updates on Reyna. I wished I could have brought her with me, but I knew the way of this world. Wives, daughters, and mistresses of the Yakuza were not considered vital to the organization. Therefore, they held no standing. I lingered by the senior guards outside the Yakuza headquarters in Tokyo and typed a message to Romero and Dante. "How is Reina? Any update?" Dante's reply came before Romero's. "It's been 10 minutes. Stop being a paranoid freak." The head of Yamaguchi Gumi nodded his greeting as he passed me. The next message was from Romero. "No change. Ignore your idiot brother." Romero had a sense of humor. Who knew? I collected myself, wiping my expression clear, and walked into the office. Each syndicate head was seated around the desk, and, to my surprise, the head chair behind the desk was left empty. My eyes traveled over the 4 men. "The main seat is saved for you," Yamaguchi declared. As I moved to take the seat, placing my phone face up next to my glass of water, he addressed everyone in the room. "It's time we bring the true blood, a young, competent blood, as the head of the Yakuza. Itsuki Takahashi has proven time and again to be incompetent." My phone lit up, and I read the message that flashed across the screen. "Had to sedate her again. Nightmare." The message was from Romero. "Be careful to only give her the minimum dose." "Are we boring you?" Sumiyoshi sneered. I put my phone away and met his eyes. "No, but my wife is sick, and she is my priority." A heartbeat passed before a soft murmur filled the room. "We heard what happened. Our deepest wishes for a swift recovery." I nodded my thanks. "You can appreciate my urgency to return home to her." The 4 of them nodded in unison. "Okay, then let's get straight to business," Yamaguchi continued. "We propose to eliminate Itsuki and have you take his place. You have brought in the most deals, money, and success to our organization. All your cousin succeeded in was losing them." He paused for effect. "Those in favor of Eamon Takahashi." They never did acknowledge my Italian background. "Becoming the next leader of the Yakuza, raise your hand." Kudo Kai was the first one who lifted his palm. Sumiyoshi followed. Inagawa kept watching me suspiciously. He'd always been wary of anyone outside his immediate circle. Murmurs started, but I didn't bother listening, keeping my gaze locked on Inagawa. The vote to switch from my cousin to me would have to be unanimous. His gaze darted to the first 2 yes votes, then returned to me. Maybe it was the fact he saw that I didn't give a shit, or maybe it was something else entirely, but he raised his hand too. "You have my vote," Yamaguchi announced, putting his hand up. It wasn't as if they could keep Itsuki at the helm. He was dead in the bunker, without any chance of resurrection. "You will lead the Yakuza." It didn't come as a surprise, really, but it was unprecedented. The voting to replace the Yakuza leader had never been done in the history of the organization. But knowing my cousin's incompetence, a unanimous vote was the only way. "Please join me in welcoming the new Yakuza leader," Yamaguchi announced. "Eamon Takahashi." The tattoo artist already waited out front. It was time to follow my Oji-san's tradition and sit for the inscription of the kanji symbol that represented our syndicate. The same symbol that my wife wore around her neck. The other leaders trickled out when the meeting was over, and when my tattoo was finished, I hauled ass out of there. Reina needed me more than these men did. My phone buzzed again. Dante's message flashed across my screen. "Marchetti and his wife are on their way from Italy. He's bringing the entourage. Fuck. Only one thought filled my head. I couldn't let him get to my wife before me. 21. Eamon. I arrived back at my compound exactly an hour before Marchetti. Thank fuck. My wife had been home for 2 weeks already. All the while, Cesar searched for Phoenix with Dante's diligent micromanaging. Romero lingered on my property, and Reina's grandmother continued to offer her 2 cents whenever possible. None of it concerned me as much as Reina's progress. She kept slipping further into herself, refusing to talk to anyone. For the first few days, she hardly spoke at all. I'd find her staring blankly out at the ocean. Mostly she offered no reaction, which was a far greater indication of her mental health for me than any other test done by the doctor. Reina adored the sea. Simply being near it should have been enough to at least draw out a small smile or a softening of her eyes. Seeing her like this hurt like fucking hell, and all I wanted was to hand her the pieces of my heart and give her something to hold on to. But she refused any help, even from her papa. Wouldn't even let me come near her. If I got within a foot of her, she flipped out. I had a therapist, Dr. Anna Freud, no relation to Sigmund Freud, visit daily to work with her. I hoped the Harvard psychologist would somehow work a miracle, being closer in age to Reina. In the beginning, it did nothing. Reina refused to say anything for the most part. But within the last few days, she'd finally begun to acknowledge Dr. Freud. It was a small change, but I would take it. Isla, Athena, and Raven were visiting today. It was impossible to keep them away any longer. And while I hated that Enrico Marchetti accompanied his wife, I was grateful he'd come so far. Reina needed her girlfriends. How is she handling everything? Enrico asked, taking a seat next to me. We were in my office that had somehow morphed into a surveillance station. Some nights, when Reina was under sedation, I'd sit in her room, in the darkness, and listen to her breathe. And the days I couldn't sit in her room because she couldn't handle me being anywhere near her, I'd watch her from here. Was it healthy? Fuck no. But God damn it, I was already well on my way to madness. She's alive, I answered, though I wasn't entirely sure it was the truth. She was breathing, but there was no life in her eyes. She was barely existing, hiding in her own shell, and refusing to let anyone in. It takes time. He sounded surprisingly understanding. When Isla returned home after her kidnapping, it took her a while to heal. Reina was held captive for over a month. Just give her time and space, and she'll start talking and smiling, and then everything will fall into place. His dark eyes found mine. She'll be up, down, and sideways for a long time. I glanced over the horizon and the blue ocean, the images from last night still fresh in my mind. She thrashed and whimpered every night, her raw screams tearing her vocal cords. I hated sedating her. I'd tried waking her up carefully, but the invisible demons she fought sent her into full attack mode. Last night was the first time my reassurance helped her more than it frightened her, and she'd fallen into a dreamless sleep until morning. But then, like clockwork, the sun rose, and it was back to the same routine. She wouldn't move, she wouldn't talk, she wouldn't even meet my eyes, and I had no fucking idea how to help. I'd be damned if I gave up, though. I would save her, even if it was the last thing I did in my life. It made me feel helpless, and I fucking hated it. So I put all my energy into finding Hiroshi and my mother. I needed an outlet while I waited for Reina to let me know she was ready for me. My gaze caught on my grandfather's painting. Even before his death, my idiot cousin never learned that the painting in his compound was actually a copy that I'd commissioned after I stole this one right out from under his nose. I stood and made my way to the portrait our family commissioned 3 generations ago. Lanterns floated over Oji-san's Zen garden, the midnight blue sky above it. Fuck, I missed my wife. I missed the cinnamon girl who danced with me and lifted the weight off my chest. I wanted to lift the pain for her, but I felt like I was failing. She's going to get through it, Eamon, Marchetti assured, picking up on the distress clouding my eyes. I know she will. She's the strongest woman I know, I agreed. Which brings me to my next topic. I started coldly. I won't bring her to the Omerta to be questioned about Angelo Leone. Tense silence filled the office, and for once, I really wished Dante would appear and crack one of his tasteless jokes. I didn't want to risk smashing Marchetti's head and having both Reina and I marked as enemies of the Omerta. You're part of the Omerta, and the rules apply to you in that same order. And how am I a part of the Omerta? I asked coldly. You're Romero's legitimate son. Therefore, his seat goes to you. I side-eyed him. I haven't formally accepted any title. Surprise flickered in his expression. Are you contemplating rejecting the honor? I scoffed. Not much of an honor if it puts my wife in front of you and the others to answer for a crime committed in self-defense. Is that why she did it? I nodded. Then why not reveal what happened? Why chop up his body? Jesus, Dante had really let the whole thing spill. I honestly wouldn't give a shit if she went on a murderous rampage. She could burn the entire fucking world, and I'd be standing right behind her, holding the torch. Angelo was a cruel bastard, and the only regret I have is that I didn't murder him before he tried to put his filthy paws on Reina. Okay, I could turn down the hate by a few degrees, or 10, but lack of sleep over the past month and my wife's condition had been weighing down on me. Or maybe I never gave a shit in the first place. Hard to tell right now. What's your plan with your cousin? He questioned, moving on from the subject of Reina. I shrugged, not yet ready to divulge the details of what I'd done. He's no more, but I'll kill anyone who was helping him. Taking over the Yakuza? I narrowed my eyes. We only had the meeting yesterday, and nobody knew about the newest elected leader except for Dante. My sources tell me that men in the Yakuza follow your lead more than your cousins, so I'm guessing it shouldn't be hard to take over. Maybe. More accurately, he hoped to keep leveraging the connection to the Yakuza. Well, he was fucking crazy if he thought he'd leverage anything while demanding to judge my wife. They could all go fuck themselves. I was already the elected head of the Yakuza, but none of it fucking mattered. What good was it to be a king without a queen? What good was power if there was nobody to protect? What was the point of running the Yakuza and taking Romero's seat in the Omerta if I failed at protecting her? And then there was Reina's love. It was disappearing right in front of my eyes. I twisted the wedding ring on my finger, welcoming the silence. My throat burned, the weight on my chest squashing my soul and my heart. If I were a better man, I would walk away and let her be. Fuck that. She was the essence of me, And if I were to live without her, I might as well slice my own throat now. Returning my focus to the present situation, I met Marchetti's eyes. If you want me on your side, and in the Omerta, you'll drop the subject of Angelo Leone's murder. I don't tolerate blackmail. Neither do I. Nor do I tolerate threats made against my family. Before he could say another word, an agonizing cry sliced through the air, sending me sprinting out of my office.
22. Raina. Eamon's compound was surrounded by beauty. The early morning sun reflected rays off the ocean's still surface. Trees and hills made up most of my view, their luscious green leaves dancing in the light of the early March breeze. I'd always wanted to visit the Philippines, but never once did my dreams include being confined to a pocket that had been converted to a sterile mini-hospital. Outside, on the other hand, was paradise. The wing was built on stilts and supporting beams to give the illusion of floating above the turquoise lagoon below. The water was so clear you could see the fish swimming beneath, and every corner was furnished with rattan furniture and soothing beige fixtures. It truly was a tranquil space, one that my friends were touring with Dr. Freud, their oohs and ahs reaching me through the open windows. My bathroom was a short walk down a glass-bottomed hallway, which was where I currently hid, hunched over the marble sink, staring into the mirror. I needed one more minute of solitude before braving their faces. "Where are you, Phoenix?" I whispered, watching my mouth move around the words, and no longer seeing the same person. Someone else stared back at me. Someone older, more damaged, and filthy. No matter how hard I scrubbed, I couldn't manage to get the invisible remnants of grime, blood, and fear off my skin. It was on me to protect my sister, but right now, I was the one who needed her. I needed the peace that seeing her alive and well would afford me. My eyes fell on the razor, and before I knew what I was doing, I reached for it, pressing the blade against my wrists. A hiss escaped me as the first drop of crimson spilled. I pressed it harder against my flesh, relishing the pain. "You said you wouldn't do this anymore," a small voice whispered. I ignored it and switched to my other wrist. The burning, the pain. I pressed harder, red droplets of blood falling onto the marble and the pristine tile under my feet. Drip, drip, drip. The images of my mother bleeding in the tub flashed in my mind, and I wondered if this was how she felt before she ended it. She'd left us, seeking refuge in death. Was I destined to do the same? "Raina, what the heck are you doing in there?" Isla's voice startled me, causing me to drop the razor with a clang against the countertop. "Nothing." I turned on the faucet, then rushed to clean myself off. The cut stung and blood refused to stop flowing. Fuck! My eyes darted around frantically until I found the first aid kit. I rifled through it, searching for some gauze and wrapping it around my wrists, then pulled my sleeves down to my palms. Once done, I exited the bathroom and came face to face with my girlfriends. "Jesus, I thought you drowned in there," Raven grumbled, eyeing me suspiciously. "Raven?" Athena scolded her, giving her a pointed look. Tugging on my sleeves, I shook my head. "Nope, no such luck." Raven closed the distance between us and wrapped her arms around me. "I'm sorry, that was a shitty thing for me to say." I shook my head. "We're worried about you," she added. "Don't be, I'm fine. I'd be even better if Phoenix were here." "I know, soon." Isla's response was as vague as everyone else's, and I was getting fed up with their placating. "When?" She grumbled a response, and I forced a smile, grimace, really, while the three of them shared a look. Ignoring their glances, I padded over to the arched doorway that led outside, the blue of the sea everywhere, and clean ocean calming the demons inside me. I lowered myself to the cold marble. I braced my hands on either side of my hips and leaned over, watching my feet swing forward and back. I could almost feel the water under my toes, so I guessed it was almost high tide. This was the only thing that calmed me these days. One step out of my bedroom and you could dive in, swimming in the crystal blue ocean. I felt safe out here. Not inside Eamon's mansion, not when the windows were closed, not when Papa and Eamon lurked around. That feeling of being trapped gripped me unless my feet were dangling above the blue waters. Jesus, this place is gorgeous, Isla remarked. So majestic, Athena added, kicking off her shoes and taking a seat next to me. Her shoulder bumped into mine. How are you? I smiled, watching a school of fish rush by. Good. Raven and Isla slipped their shoes off and took a seat on the other side of me. You're not, Raven declared softly. But that's okay. My lips thinned. Everyone wanted to talk about it, and all I wanted to do was forget. I still struggle sometimes, Isla remarked, her tone hesitant. It's been months since I was taken, and I was only gone for a few days. It's okay to admit you're not okay. 2 heartbeats of silence passed. None of this was helping. I knew they were trying to make things better by wrapping me in cotton wool, but I almost wished they acted like assholes. Where's Phoenix? I asked, frustration bubbling inside me. That would help me. The tension that permeated the air was thick. Isla smiled, but there were so many things off with it. For one, it didn't reach her eyes. Maestro booked her for the season and insisted she not take any days off, Athena elaborated. My brows furrowed. Not even to come see me? I took a deep breath, recalling how Grandma and Papa evaded answering me too. The memory was fuzzy, but I couldn't lose my shit like I did with them. Breathe, Raina. I had to keep it together. Yes, he's a real dick, Isla added, but a great opportunity. That didn't sound like my sister at all. She never, fucking ever, put anything or anyone above us. We were always there for each other, through thick and thin. But she's okay, I whispered, struggling to come to terms with it. Phoenix and I always stuck together. When I planned to run before marrying Dante, it was going to be the 2 of us disappearing. It never occurred to me to leave her behind. Unless, maybe Phoenix followed through on her own. Is she really okay? I added in a stronger, more challenging voice. Only Isla and Athena nodded in unison, while Raven avoided eye contact with me. She'll try to come as soon as possible, Athena said, and I thought I saw Raven shoot her a glare, but I couldn't be sure because she was sort of nodding her head, smiling. Isla hooked her arm around me and pulled me into her. Are you sure you're okay? Isla said, and I swallowed a lump in my throat. Images and sounds I'd been trying to forget rolling through my mind. My throat tightened, and I knew it'd be pointless to open my mouth because I wouldn't be able to utter a single syllable. You want to talk about it? I shook my head, returning my attention to the horizon. You don't have to, Athena murmured softly. We're just happy you're safe. That's right, Raven agreed. All the Omerta shit can go to hell. I shot her a curious look. It was an odd comment to make. She waved her hand in response. Isla's husband is hunting for Sofia Volkov. Like, his life depends on it. Of course, Athena and Manuel are helping. She drew out the word, shooting a look at our friend, then rolling her eyes. Athena flipped her off. Ignore those 2. Anyhow, Enrico's convinced that he can get to Sofia through her daughter, which I disagree with, Isla added, frowning. Liana shouldn't be the one to pay for her mother's sins. Alert shot through me. Liana? The word was out of my mouth before I could think. You don't mean... No, it can't be. What does she look like? I looked between the girls, crossing my arms over my chest and rocking back and forth, my breath catching. Like golden eyes? They studied me. Yes, Isla whispered, dumbfounded. Dark blonde hair? I asked, and Isla nodded. Honey color? Another nod. How do you know her? Remember when we were in that nightclub in Moscow? Yeah. It seemed like a different lifetime, a different me. Isla had flown back home to Russia, and we'd met up in Moscow. I ran into her. She seemed normal. I chewed on my bottom lip. My short time with the girl who called herself Liana lingered in the back of my mind. It had to be the same one. That would make her an illegitimate daughter too, and she'd seem to know a thing or two about the underworld. I probably wouldn't be here today if it weren't for her. I didn't imagine all that. Right? Her English is good? I asked. Perfect, in fact, Isla confirmed. A shudder zipped down my spine and goosebumps rose on my skin. I think I saw her when... I swallowed a lump in my throat. She was auctioned before me. 3 sets of eyes widened in shock. You were auctioned? Something about illegitimate Mafia princesses, I muttered. Then a worry pierced my chest as another ounce of doubt made its way into my heart. You're sure Phoenix is okay? Yes. The answer came from all 3 at the same time, but there was something off. Can we FaceTime her? I haven't been able to get through to her. I know she's been waiting for her big break for years, but I just can't believe she hasn't even tried to call. Nothing would stop Phoenix from replying to my text messages or calling me. Even when she was really sick all those years ago and had to be admitted to the private clinic, she would message me every day. That was the only time we'd ever been apart. This was out of character for her. She's been so busy. They're having their most promising year so far. Maestro Andrea keeps them all on a tight leash. Athena offered. You know how Maestro can be. Isla chimed in. My eyes landed on Raven and a heartbeat passed. For fuck's sake, Raven said exasperatedly, flapping her hands in the air. We should tell her this isn't helping her. I swallowed. Tell me what? Don't, Athena warned her softly. She's cutting herself, she mouthed. Did they think I was suddenly blind? Don't what? I asked, eerily calm, while a tornado whirled inside me. If anyone dared lay a hand on Phoenix, I would skin them alive. You're going to bleed for me so prettily. I pushed the voices and images out of my mind while my heartbeat sped up. Ignore the voice, my mind chanted. Breathe, Reina, Isla cooed. I'm sure Phoenix is fine. We just can't find her right now. But you know your sister, she's so tough. Buzzing in my ears increased. We'll find her. Bad guys don't have her. Raven's assurance was no assurance at all. For fuck's sake, Raven. Wrong thing to say, Athena hissed. Was another Perez Cortez torturing my sister? The tremor started in my fingers and spread over my body. I gripped my hands, my knuckles turning white as I attempted to gain control of myself. Torn limbs, terrifying screams piercing my ears. A hand reached out to touch me, and a month of memories burst to life. I let out a scream, my vocal cords scratching at my throat as I whipped around, ready to fight whoever dared put their hands on me. My eyes darted around and the room tilted. Someone tried to restrain me, but that only made it worse. My lungs squeezed, my heart raced, and my vision blurred while I fought my demons, until 2 warm hands came around me from behind. No, I whimpered, caught somewhere between the nightmare and reality. I attempted to headbutt whoever held me, but to no avail. Fuck whoever it was. He wouldn't have me. I'd go down fighting.
It's me, Cinnamon Girl. Calm down.
A soft whisper against my ear was enough to confuse me, making me pause.
You're safe.
Slowly, the nightmare faded and the world came into focus. Eyes wide and heart racing, all I was able to do was stare, seeing my friends' horrified faces, Papa and Marchetti studying me with blank expressions. The scent of lemons and apples registered, and I lowered my eyes to the 2 strong arms around me. They were Eamon's, and if there was any doubt about it, the bracelet I gifted him all those years ago was wrapped around his wrist, soothing my panic slightly. Desperate to get myself together, knowing too well that I looked like a batshit crazy person, I kept blinking until I choked out, I need Phoenix. Marchetti's brows pinched, watching me with a confused look on his face.
What?
Grandma appeared, and in the far corner in my mind, I noted the diamond tiara on her head. She only wore those when she was getting married or divorced. The girls shot her odd looks. Papa muttered a curse, though I could hardly hear past the ringing in my ears. And all the while I observed the scene like I wasn't part of it. I had left the jungle and captivity, but I was still a prisoner of my own mind. Papa stepped forward, ignoring everyone.
I know you do, but you have to trust us that she's okay. We have to get you better. That is what's most important right now.
I just wanted to make sure she's okay, I croaked. Just one call, please.
Not now, baby.
He pacified.
When you're better.
My control evaporated like a wispy cloud on a sunny day, and I descended into madness. Another scream ripped from my throat, and in the next moment, I felt a prick against my neck.
23. Eamon. My chest constricted as I listened to Raina's little whimpers. I clenched my jaw as my gaze fell on her wrists and noted the cuts. Fuck. I made a mental note to remove all razors from her bathroom and to speak with her therapist. Raina's body jerked slightly, her eyes moving behind her closed eyelids. It gutted me from the inside, her pain slicing clean through me. Jesus fucking Christ, Marchetti cursed. I thought she was getting better. She's better than she was, Romero answered somberly. Marchetti's brows scrunched. Ma che cazzo, he muttered. What the fuck? You were right to protest, Eamon. Don't bring her in front of the Omerta like this. She'll get herself shot if she loses her shit in front of all of them like that. We'll wait a bit.
Enrico.
Isla tugged on her husband's sleeve.
You cannot seriously mean that. She's been through enough.
She's never appearing in front of the Omerta, I gritted. Not even when she's better. You know patricide is forbidden. The Omerta knows she killed Angelo. If we let it go, it will open the doors for others to do the same. My jaw clenched. You won't put her through more shit just to prove your point, I gritted. The Omerta better watch out, because I stop at nothing to protect what's mine. Angelo showed up at her apartment. She didn't seek him out. So fuck you, and fuck the Omerta. Reina won't be judged by anyone. Now, kindly get the fuck out so that Reina can get some rest. Dante chose to make his entrance at that very moment, his eyes landing on Reina. What the fuck happened? And why is she sedated again? Raven answered him.
She asked about Phoenix and...
Her voice trailed off, and I caught Marchetti's wife giving a subtle shake of her head.
It went downhill from there.
What else? Marchetti demanded. Raven's shoulders slumped.
We talked about Sofia Volkov's illegitimate daughter. Reina said she was auctioned before her.
Dante narrowed his eyes. Didn't we fucking say don't upset her? He growled. He was becoming more protective of his half-sister. I swear to God, if you cannot follow simple rules and keep Reina calm when you visit, you'll be cut out, friendship or no.
You have no right to make a decision like that.
Raven snapped, her hands on her hips.
She's capable of making her own decisions. We can't keep hiding shit from her, and in case you haven't noticed...
She gave me a pointed look.
Hiding the fact that we have no fucking clue where Phoenix is only makes things worse.
She might have had a point there. Okay, whatever the case might be, Reina has to answer to the heads of the Omerta for Angelo's murder. Marchetti was clearly getting annoyed with all of us. I don't give a shit whether you two agree or not. And I don't give a shit about the Omerta, I glowered. You can take the whole organization and shove it up your ass for all I care. Reina won't be answering for anything. Ah, I see my brother's already embracing the rules of the Omerta. God, his sarcasm had the worst fucking timing. When will you get the tattoo that we all carry? Fuck off. Marchetti and I answered at the same time. The Omerta tattoo wouldn't happen, not unless the organization could guarantee Reina's safety.
Hold on,
Raven exclaimed.
You guys have matching tattoos? That's so stinking cute.
Definitely not what I was going for, Marchetti grumbled, turning to face Romero. I suggest you bring your son up to speed on the significance of our rules. I'm taking my wife home. Haemon's taking over my seat and has the freedom to do what he thinks is the best for his family, Romero answered diplomatically. And I also agree with his sentiment. My daughter here has been through enough, and I still have to find my other one. The Omerta rules are the last thing I care about. I won't stand back and watch you pass judgment on Reina. Well said. No wonder Reina had stuck by him all these years despite his feelings. Well, Marchetti, sayonara. I wish I could say I was sorry to see you go, but we all know I'd be lying. I let my gaze travel over the room. Girls, please say your goodbyes. I'll get in touch when Reina's up for visitors again. I didn't need a disaster whirling around my wife. Isla turned to her husband and set her hands on her hips.
Enrico, you and I need to talk.
Not now, Dolcezza.
Yes, now.
Her eyes darted to her friends, and the three of them shared a glance.
Just fucking tell him,
Raven hissed.
If he wants to be an ass to Reina, he'll have to be an ass to all of us.
I already like the sound of that, Dante remarked dryly. I was going to be on my way, but I'm eager to hear this before I hit the road. Athena smiled shakily.
It might be better if you weren't here, considering it involves your fucking dickwad father.
Raven spat.
Angelo Leone deserved what he got.
Everyone tensed as silence descended on the room, promising nothing good. I pulled Reina tighter to my chest, and for the first time since she was brought home, she nuzzled closer, as if she knew, even in her unconscious state, that she'd need protection.
The girls and I helped Reina,
Isla finally announced. One heartbeat. Helped her with what? Marchetti's voice was cautious, low.
We helped her finish off Angelo Leone.
Finish him how? Romero asked, dread filling his voice.
We killed him,
Raven said, almost sounding proud.
He attacked Reina, so we all killed him and sliced him up.
The ticking of the clock above Reina's bed was the only sound to be heard. You all did it? Marchetti asked. I suspected they were lying. If I had to guess, Reina killed Angelo in self-defense, and the girls helped her after the fact. Not that I would correct them. If Marchetti wanted to put Reina on fucking trial, he'd have to do the same with his wife. And we all knew he would never allow that.
We had to chop him up,
Athena muttered, her voice riddled with guilt.
We couldn't take him out of the apartment undetected.
So you, what, cut him into pieces? Marchetti stated. Because that makes a lot of sense.
It made sense back then.
Isla took her husband's hand.
We were scared. He beat the shit out of her. Do you think we wanted to be slicing up a body?
Then, as if to prove her point, she gagged, dramatically.
Yeah, there was a lot of puking.
Athena offered a sheepish smile.
I guess if we'd known you or Manuel then, we could have just called you.
Raven blinked her eyes innocently.
Definitely Manuel,
Athena murmured, offering Marchetti a dazzling smile.
I bet he would have cracked jokes while chopping up the body. Not us, nuh-uh. We had to fight over whose turn it was to puke in the toilet.
This is some fucked up shit, Dante finally said.
That's rich coming from a killer,
Raven muttered, glaring at my brother.
And an unhinged mobster who went after his brother's ex-girlfriend.
Isla grumbled.
After promising Phoenix, what was it, girls?
She looked around, feigning cluelessness.
Oh yeah, you vowed there's nobody else, not for me, you said.
She even deepened her voice.
Fucker.
My brows pinched, and so did Dante's. What the fuck are you talking about? Dante asked. Isla scoffed.
Whatever, dude. I don't have time for your bullshit.
Dante's questioning look landed on me, and I shrugged. I didn't have time for any of their bullshit. Does this change your position, Marchetti? Romero said, as he took a seat, his breathing labored. All our eyes were on the head of the Marchetti family. His answer didn't matter to me, because as far as I was concerned, the issue was closed. I wanted them all out, and judging by Marchetti's body language, he'd prefer to get the fuck out too. I don't like to be tricked, he remarked dryly. Isla offered him a private smile.
Neither do I, yet here I am.
Then he seemed to relent, pulling her into a hug and kissing her temple. I'd hate to be a rude host, but as if you give two shits, Dante interjected. You're right, I don't even give one. Everyone out, except Romero. I met the old man's eyes. My eyes roamed the room to discover Reina's grandmother had disappeared, along with that ridiculous tiara on her head. What's the deal with your mother-in-law and that headpiece? He rolled his eyes, shrugging. She's determined to send me to my grave early, he stated wryly. And who the fuck knows about that tiara? Every so often she struts around with it. You can remain here with her. I lowered my gaze to Reina's sleeping form in my arms. I'm taking Reina away from all this shit for a bit. Are you sure that's wise? His concerns were justified, but I'd made my choice. She needed peace that this place couldn't offer her. I'm sure, I told him. I have it all lined up.
24. Reina. I jolted awake after yet another nightmare. My bedsheets were a tangled mess, proof of my tossing and turning. Every night I was back in that dark basement. Every night I heard terror-filled, skull-piercing screams. And then there was the familiar shadow, Perez Cortez, toying with me, biding his time. Until finally, I jolt awake, my shirt clinging to my body with sweat, my hair damp, sticking to my forehead, and confusion swirling in my head. Fear cocooned me and refused to let go. I kept hearing the pure terror in those women's screams. I kept seeing the missing limbs and blank eyes of the innocent girls that I didn't even attempt to save. And then there were the men I'd killed. I never would have imagined that reality would be worse than the drug-induced fog I'd become so dependent on, the lows that always followed it. The haze in my brain was gone. The tremors were as well, but the pain in my heart remained a constant companion. It was ironic, really. I'd fought to live, to keep from being touched, for however long I was in captivity, only to learn that death would have been better than staying alive. I would have finally been at peace. No more fighting the agony or the mess clogging my brain, no more having my heart shredded to pieces by shame. Wait, no. Eamon would never betray me. Why would I think that? He'll never want you again, not with those scars. Fucking Cortez. He's dead! Why can't I get him out of my head? The breeze swept off the ocean and cooled my cheeks. The moon glimmered in the sky, weaving shadows through my room. Suddenly, my bedroom door swung open, and there stood a different, dark shadow. The outline of my prince in shining armor. My husband. But I was the furthest thing from goddamn Cinderella. I was filthy, dirty, untouchable. I turned my gaze to stare back out the window. Stars surrounded the moon and admired its glow. It reminded me of the two of us, this fascination with him that started the day I met him. by the castle on the Gulf of Trieste. It wasn't a good fascination. It wasn't a fairy tale kind of love. No, it was a dark, twisted type of pain, complete with secrets that tore at everything in their wake.
Raina, baby,
he said roughly.
When will you finally talk to me?
I couldn't fall under his spell. I didn't deserve to. I don't want to talk to you, I whispered. I don't want to see you. My lips trembled and I was forced to suck them between my teeth or risk the sobs breaking through. I don't love you anymore. You need to let me go. Ruined, broken, filthy. An internal war waged inside me, the one that screamed there was no happy ending for me. And then it was that romantic part that had shriveled to a tiny pebble that still needed the light, that still needed him.
You don't love me.
His tone was flat.
Then I need to work harder.
I shook my head. You'll be disappointed. The rippling water forged its own symphony in the steady rhythm, matching my throbbing heartbeat. The silver moon reflected against its dark depths, calling to my broken spirit.
Break my heart, Raina, as many times as you want. It was only ever yours to break.
My gaze snapped to him.
But I will never give up on you. My heart beats for you. I'll love you until my last breath, but I'll also fight for you until that day comes.
His words did weird shit to my heart, melting the ice walls I'd worked so hard to construct. Where is my sister? I rasped, focusing on something else, something that terrified me in a different way. I promised my mama I'd protect her. I needed to make sure I stayed true to that. I want to see her, but no one is giving me a straight answer. Every time I brought her up, I was met with vague answers and averted looks. Nobody had brought her up since I returned. Papa was here. Grandma came to visit. Even the girls called and texted and visited. Everyone but my sister, and that was not like her. Eamon paused.
She's not here.
It had been 3 weeks since I was rescued from the jungles of Brazil. Since Eamon, his brother Darius, and all their men decimated the compound to nothing, which meant it had been almost 2 months since I'd left Paris. I had regained some semblance of sanity in the last week. I no longer lost my shit when I felt Eamon nearby. Some nights I woke up to him stroking my hair, whispering warm, reassuring words that were so beautiful the old me would have cried. Instead, I lay motionless, pretending I was asleep, hiding behind the comfort of my walls. The old me was dead. I was no longer his cinnamon girl. I was no longer innocent or naive.
Talk to me.
I clenched my teeth. Where is my papa?
He's asleep. Want me to wake him up?
Guilt slithered through me. I was being selfish. His cancer was attacking him from the inside, and he needed his rest. No, don't wake him. I turned my back to him, only for the mattress to dip right behind me. Tension stiffened my every limb, and I didn't acknowledge him. It was for the best. If I faced him, my panic and anxiety would take hold and wouldn't let go until he sedated me. I was tired of being drugged. Determined not to risk another one of my episodes, I closed my eyes and kept them shut, refusing to react to him or any life around me. It wasn't easy. For some reason, every stupid fiber of me was so attuned to him. My body shuddered at his proximity, but I ignored it. I kept trying to distinguish reality from hallucination, my truth from the lies Perez spun in a poisonous web around me. Rubbing my chest, the throbbing ache slowly expanded with each breath. Perez left scars on my mind, not only my body.
Raina, please talk to me.
I can't. I could feel him stiffen behind me. Silence descended upon us. His breaths, my heartbeats, the room swaying ever so slightly over the water.
Then who? He
demanded. When I said nothing, his hand came to my shoulder. I jerked away from his touch. Don't touch me, I hissed, making him wince. I shifted around, watching him warily. My eyes darted past him and focused on the horizon.
Cinnamon girl, please don't lock yourself away,
he said roughly.
Don't leave me alone.
I wanted to tell him I too felt alone, but the words got stuck in my throat.
You're safe now,
he assured softly. I sat up slowly and shifted away from him, bringing my knees to my chest.
Tell me what you need.
I swallowed the lump in my throat. I can't be with you anymore. My voice was barely above a whisper. You and I, we were never supposed to be. We both know it. It's okay, there's too much hate surrounding our family, and I broke off, the sob catching in my throat. I didn't think I could bear any more heartbreak. Once he saw my scars, he wouldn't want me anymore. So it was better this way. His body dripped with tension.
That's fucking bullshit. You and I were always meant to be. You can hate me all you want, Cinnamon Girl, but don't regret me. Never fucking regret us. If you don't want me anymore, put a bullet in me.
I'd rather die than hurt him. Why didn't you pay the ransom? His brows furrowed.
Ransom?
I nodded.
What are you talking about?
I gulped, the lump growing bigger. Perez said you refused to pay my ransom, that you left me there because I was ruined. But didn't I also think he was taunting me? I didn't know what to think anymore. Maybe that conversation never even happened. I buried my face in my hands, blocking out the world.
He never asked for ransom, Rena.
The seriousness of his tone signaled the truth, and the gentle way he pulled my hands away from my face and stroked my cheeks promised it.
He never even reached out. Only dropped a video of your torture. We had no idea where you were for weeks. I would have given my everything, down to my last cent, for you. Don't you see? None of it matters to me if I don't have you.
My eyes flitted to his, and I murmured, I see.
What did he do to you?
My lungs burned, and I fought to suck in air. I couldn't go there with him. Not yet. Not now. So I focused on other things instead. Other ghosts. Did you kill him? I croaked, my arms coming around to hug my knees. Perez and his bottomless eyes haunted me during every waking and dreaming hour. But it was more than just that. It was the secrets of our parents we were paying for, the memories that resurfaced, the enemies that lingered in the shadows.
I did,
he said, shifting closer before catching himself.
I still can't believe you're here.
His voice dripped with relief. Are you going to kill the others? My voice quivered. Are you going to kill your mother? Papa didn't have to name the culprit. We all knew who it was. Chancing a look at his face, I could feel all my muscles tensing. In the dark of the night, lit only by the moon, his face looked harsher, his jaw more angular, and somehow he looked older. But his eyes, they were always what pulled on my heartstrings the most.
If she's done what I suspect, I will.
The tone of his voice left no room for doubts.
But I will question her. I want to understand why she was willing to destroy us when she could have had everything.
I didn't understand exactly what he meant, but I didn't ask. The concept of so much evil surrounding us was hard to grasp. It was like the universe was against us from the moment we met.
They will all pay,
he vowed, leaning closer. A shiver rushed down my spine as his scent registered. Breathing became a chore, and goosebumps erupted on my skin. I dreaded this moment since I first woke up in the safety of his home. He'd be repulsed by me once he got too close and saw my scars. We can't do this, I stated. I can't stay with you. His brows furrowed.
Why not?
He demanded.
You're my wife.
My lips thinned. I wasn't sure who was the romantic fool anymore, and I was too tired to figure it out. I leaned back, fatigue slowly creeping through my broken body. Never mind. But know this, Eamon. I'm going back home to Europe when Papa leaves. There was a long, tense pause, and then the mattress shifted as he stood up. I could hear the heavy thud of his footsteps on the wooden floor as he made his way to the door. I opened my eyes, catching a glimpse of his tall frame as he lingered in the doorway.
In that case,